Chapter 1. The Castle of Cards. Vincent Blackwood thought he had built the perfect life. At 42, he had transformed himself from a construction worker's son into one of Boston's most respected structural engineers. His firm, Blackwood and Associates, had designed some of the city's most innovative buildings over the past decade. Their latest achievement, the Horizon Tower, was being heralded as an architectural marvel. The Blackwood home in Brookline was an early 1900s colonial revival that Vincent had renovated himself, pouring sweat equity into every board and beam. The spacious kitchen with its marble countertops opened to a sprawling backyard where Vincent had installed a cedar hot tub last summer, a luxury he seldom had time to enjoy. His wife Laurel taught art history at a prestigious private school. At 39, she still turned heads with her auburn hair and distinctive laugh. They met 15 years ago when Vincent was designing the school's new arts building. Their 17-year-old son Drew was a promising photographer who inherited his mother's artistic eye and his father's analytical mind. On paper, everything was perfect. Vincent stood at his home office window, watching Drew practice basketball in the driveway. The boy had his mother's lean build and his father's determination. Vincent had missed Drew's championship game last week. Again, because his business partner Russ Kessler had called an emergency meeting about the Wilburn Hotel project. That's the third game this season, Laurel had said later that night, her voice carrying an edge Vincent chose to ignore. The tension in their marriage had been building slowly, almost imperceptibly. Vincent blamed it on the demands of his firm. While Laurel spent her evenings grading papers at the kitchen table, he often returned home well after midnight. His mind's still churning with structural calculations and client demands. I think we need to talk, Laurel had said last Sunday morning, but Drew had interrupted with news about a photography competition in the moment past. Vincent had felt relief wash over him. Conversations have began with "we need to talk" rarely ended well. His cell phone buzzed. Russ again. Blackwood, he answered. Vince, we've got a situation with the Wilburn. Bailey wants to meet tomorrow morning. Theodore Bailey was their newest client, a hotel magnate with expensive tastes and unrealistic expectations. Since taking over a CEO from his father, he'd been aggressively expanding his family's hotel chain. I thought we resolved the foundation issues, Vincent said, watching Drew sink a perfect three-pointer. This is not about the foundation. That's about the budget. He's claiming we re 15% over. Vincent pinched the bridge of his nose. That's impossible. We've trimmed every corner. Well, he's bringing his financial team. 9 a.m. sharp. After hanging up, Vincent joined Drew in a driveway. Nice shot. Drew shrugged. Coach says my follow-through needs work. Vincent took the ball, demonstrated the proper technique, and passed it back. Like that. Fluid motion. That. Are you coming to the photography exhibition next Friday? They re-announcing the scholarship winners. Vincent hesitated. I'll do my best. Drew's face fell slightly. Mom already said she'd not make it. Something about a faculty dinner. I'll be there, Vincent promised, making a mental note to reschedule anything that conflicted. Inside, Laura was chopping vegetables for dinner. Her movements precise and controlled. Bailey's causing problems again, Vincent said, stealing a piece of carrot. Laura's knife paused mid-chop. Vincent, we need to. The doorbell rang. Jack Fleming stood on their porch, holding a bottle of whiskey. Jack had been Vincent's roommate at MIT, and now worked as a detective with Boston PD. His recent divorce had led to regular appearances at the Blackwood home, where Laurel fed him and Vincent offered advice he never took. The Wilburn case is getting interesting, Jack said once they were settled in Vincent's study. We've had surveillance on Bailey for weeks. What? Vincent set down his glass. Money laundering. We think he's using hotel construction as a front. And you retelling me this because, Jack leaned forward, because your firm is designing his new hotel, and I do not want to see you get caught in the crossfire. Vincent felt his chest tightened. You think we at risk? I think you should be careful what contracts you sign. Bailey has connections to some dangerous people. Later that night, Vincent found himself staring at the ceiling while Laurel slept beside him. Something about her had changed in recent months. She joined a gym, bought new clothes, started wearing perfume he did not recognize. When he mentioned it, she laughed it off. A woman not want to look good for herself. His phone illuminated with a text from us. Found something weird in Bailey's contract. Call me ASAP. Vincent slipped out of bed and went downstairs to return the call, unaware that this small decision would be the first domino in a cascade that would eventually shatter everything. Chapter 2: Fractures in the Foundation. Monday mornings at Blackwood & Associates typically began with a staff meeting in the conference room overlooking the Charles River. Today, Vincent arrived early to review the Wilbon Hotel documents with Russ before they re-meeting with Bailey. Russ Kessler, stocky, bearded, and perpetually disheveled, had been Vincent's classmate at MIT. Where Vincent was precise, Russ was intuitive and chaotic. Somehow their partnership worked while Vincent handled client relations and overall design direction. Russ managed the engineering details that transformed Vincent's visions into structurally sound realities. Look at this, Russ said, pointing to a clause in the contract. Bailey added language about associated entities having access to our full design documentation without prior approval. Vincent found that was not in our original agreement. Exactly. And there's more. Russ flipped to another section. These material substitutions he's requesting. They do not meet code for a structure this size. Their assistant Maggie interrupted, poking her head through the door. Mr. Bailey is here. He brought his financial advisor. We're ready, Vincent said, straightening his tie. Theodore Bailey entered with a confidence of old money. Though Vincent knew his wealth was relatively new. At 45, Bailey had the tan skin and perfect teeth of someone who invested heavily in their appearance. Behind him walked a woman Vincent had never seen before, tall, blonde, wearing a charcoal suit and calculating expression. Vincent rushed. This is Diane Walsh, my new CFO, Bailey said. Diana's handshake was firm, her eyes assessing. Gentlemen, we have some concerns about project costs. For the next hour, Diane dissected their budget, questioning every line item, while Bailey occasionally interjected with demands for additional features at no extra cost. Vincent found himself growing increasingly frustrated. These accusations of padding the budget are unfounded. Vincent finally said, and the materials you suggesting would compromise structural integrity. Bailey leaned back, smiling thinly. Want to be blunt, Vincent? Either you find a way to cut costs by 15%. We'll take our business elsewhere. That would put your project timeline back by months. Russ countered. Perhaps, Bailey said, but I have other options. After they left, Vincent slammed his hand on the table. He's trying to strong-arm us into cutting corners. After what Jack told you, are you surprised? Russ asked. Vincent's phone buzzed with a text from Laurel. Lunch today? Need to talk. That knot in his stomach tightened again. I need to meet Laurel for lunch. Can you start looking for places we could trim the budget without compromise and safety? I'll try, but it's not going to be easy, Russ warned. Vincent met Laurel at a small cafe near her school. She looked distracted, checking her phone repeatedly. Everything okay? He asked. Fine, she said quickly, just expecting an email about a student. The conversation felt stilted. With long pauses neither seemed willing to fill. Finally, Laurel set down her fork. Vincent, I've been offered a position curating the new wing at the Peterson Gallery. It would mean longer hours, some travel. Vincent blinked in surprise. You never mentioned applying for another job. It was not planned. Theodore Bailey recommended me to the board. Apparently he's a major donor. The coincidence sent a chill through Vincent. Bailey? The hotel developer? Yes. Do you know him? He's a client. Vincent said carefully. Since would you know Theodore Bailey? Laurel shrugged. I met him as school fundraiser last month. He has a nephew who attends Westridge. Vincent frowned. And he just happened to recommend you for this position. I have the qualifications, Vincent, she said sharply. And it's an opportunity one wanna pursue. Of course, he said, try to sound supportive despite his growing unease. Just surprising. Back at the office, Vincent pulled up Bailey's social media accounts, scrolling through recent photos. There, at a charity gala 3 weeks ago, he spotted Laurel in the background, engaged in conversation with Bailey. She never mentioned attending that event. That evening, Vincent arrived home later than usual, having spent hours reviewing the Bailey contract with their lawyer. The house was quiet except for music coming from Drew's room. Vincent found Laurel in their bedroom, packing a small overnight bag. Going somewhere, he asked. I told you last week, their essay teaching conference in Providence. I'll be back tomorrow night. Had she told him? Vincent could not remember, but lately it seemed like Laurel was finding more reasons to be away from home. Dad, Drew appeared in the doorway. Can you look at my portfolio for the exhibition? I need to submit final selections tomorrow. Now's not a good time, Drew. Laurel said before Vincent could answer. Your father's had a long day. Actually, Vincent said, I'd love to see them. In Drew's room, photographs covered every surface. While some teenagers were rebelliously plastered their walls with posters, Drew had transformed his space into a gallery of his own work. Vincent was continually amazed by his son's talent for capturing moments of raw motion. These are for series called Hidden Lives, Drew explained, showing Vincent a collection of black and white images. It's about the disconnect between public faces and private realities. One photo showed an elderly man feeding pigeons, his weathered face caught in a moment of pure joy. Another captured a businessman crying in her car, mascara streaking her cheeks, her phone clutched in her hand. They're powerful, Vincent said. What do you find these moments? Drew shrugged. I watch. People reveal themselves when they think no one's looking. The comment lingered with Vincent long after he said good night to his son. Where did he miss by not watching closely enough? That night, Vincent could not sleep. He went downstairs through his study and pulled up the bank statements he'd been too busy to review. Large withdrawals from their joint account. $5,000 here, $7,000 there, transactions he could not recall authorizing. Credit card charges for hotels in Boston on nights when Laurel had claimed to be at conferences. His phone buzzed with a text from Jack. Need to talk. Information about Bailey. Urgent. Vincent stared at the message. The pieces beginning to form a picture he did not want to see. Chapter 3, The Breaking Point. The next morning, Vincent met Jack at a diner far from both his office and police headquarters. Jack looked tired, with shadows under his eyes suggesting he'd been working through the night. What's so urgent? Vincent asked after they ordered coffee. Jack glanced around before sliding a manila folder across the table. Bailey's not just laundering money. He's using his hotels to host high-end escort services catering to wealthy clients. Vincent's coffee cup paused halfway to his lips. And you retelling me this because your wife's new employer, the Peterson Gallery, is one of the fronts he uses to connect clients with escorts. The art acquisitions often involve more than just paintings. Vincent felt a chill spread through his body. You suggesting Laurel is involved in this? Jack held up his hands. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm sharing information because you my friend. And I'm concerned. The surveillance team has photos of Laurel entering Bailey's penthouse multiple times over the past 2 months. Vincent stared at him. She's been curating art for his hotels. He's a collector at midnight, alone. Jack pushed the folder closer. Look, I hope there's an innocent explanation, but you should know what you're dealing with. Vincent did not open the folder. I need to go. Outside, Vincent sat in his car, his mind racing. The folder lay unopened on the passenger seat. Its presence almost burning a hole in his peripheral vision. Finally, he reached for it. Inside were surveillance photos, time-stamped and annotated. Laurel entering Bailey's building at odd hours. Bailey and Laurel at a restaurant. Vincent had never been to their body language intimate. And most damning, Laurel leaving Bailey's penthouse early in the morning wearing different clothes than she arrived in. Vincent's phone rang. Russ. We have a problem. Russ said without preamble. Bailey's pushing to break ground next month, but the soil samples from the site show contamination that was not in the original environmental report. What kind of contamination? Industrial chemicals, heavy metals. Building there without remediation would be dangerous, possibly illegal. Vincent pinched the bridge of his nose. And expensive to fix. Exactly. Too expensive for Bailey's reduced budget. We need to halt the project until this is resolved. Vincent said Bailey would not like it. I do not give a damn what Bailey likes, Vincent snapped. I'm not putting my license on a line for him. After hanging up, Vincent drove to Westridge Academy where Laurel taught. The private school's Georgian architecture and manicured grounds projected wealth and tradition. Vincent badged in a reception. They all knew him from his work on the arts building and headed toward Laurel's classroom. Through the door's window he could see her teaching, gesturing animatedly about a slide showing road dance sculptures. He'd always admire her passion for art. The way she could make stone come alive through her descriptions. His phone buzzed with a text from us. Bailey's on the warpath. Threatening to sue if we delay. Vincent watched his wife a moment longer, then turned away without making his presence known. He needed more information before confronting her. That evening he tracked Bailey's social media and found he was hosting a charity event at his penthouse. The same penthouse Laurel had been photographed leaving early in the morning. Vincent arrived home to find Drew in the kitchen making sandwich. Mom said not to wait up. She's at a gallery opening with some potential donors. Vincent nodded, keeping his expression neutral. How's the portfolio coming? Done and submitted. Drew grinned. Mr. Harrington thinks I have a real shot at the scholarship. That's great, son. Vincent forced enthusiasm into his voice despite the turmoil inside. After dinner, Vincent told Drew he had work to catch up on and retreated to his study. Using the Find My Phone feature linked to their family account, he located Laurel's phone at Bailey's address. At midnight, he heard the garage door open. Laurel entered looking flushed. Her hair slightly mussed, wearing a dress he'd never seen before. How's the gallery opening? He asked from the darkened living room. Laurel started. Vincent, you scared me. It was productive. Why are you sitting in the dark? Just thinking. He studied her face. You look tired. It's been a long day. She sat down her purse. I'm going to take a shower. Laurel, he said as she reached the stairs, is there something you want to tell me? She paused her back to him. For a moment, Vincent thought she might confess. Then she turned with a practiced smile. Nothing that not wait until tomorrow. We both need sleep. Vincent lay awake listening to the shower run for nearly 30 minutes. When Laurel finally came to bed, she stayed on her side, careful not to touch him. The next morning, Vincent called the office to say he'd be working from home. After Laurel left for school and Drew for his morning photography club, Vincent searched their bedroom. In Laurel's closet, behind her winter sweaters, he found a leather-bound journal. His hands shook as he opened it, feeling like an intruder in his own home. The entries were sporadic but revealing. February 12th, met tea for lunch. He understands my frustrations in ways we never could. Says I have potential beyond teaching school children about dead artists. March 3rd, T surprised me with a weekend in New York. Told V it was a teacher's conference. The gallery at the pier was incredible. So was the suite. March 28th, V is so absorbed his work. He does not notice I've changed my hair, lost 10 pounds, or started wearing lingerie again. T notices everything. Vincent closed the journal, feeling nauseated. Their marriage had problems. Yes, but he had no idea Laurel was so unhappy, whether she found comfort with Theodore Bailey. His phone rang. Rust again. Bailey's pulled a contract. Russ said without preamble. He's going with Meridian Design Group instead. Meridian does not have our expertise. Vincent said automatically. His mind still on Laurel's journal. Apparently they do not share our concerns about the soil contamination either. Vincent's jaw tightened. They were going to build on toxic land. With Bailey's money greasing the wheels, it looks like it. After hanging up, Vincent sat at his desk, staring at his wedding photo. 15 years reduced to lies and betrayal. Not just personal betrayal, but professional too. Bailey had used Laurel to gain inside information about Vincent's firm, then discarded them when Vincent would not compromise his ethics. His phone buzzed with a text from Drew, coming home early. Need to grab my portfolio for final judging. Can drive me to school? Vincent texted back in affirmative, grateful for the distraction. He returned Laurel's journal to its hiding place. His mind churning with questions he was not ready to ask. Drew arrived 40 minutes later, rushing upstairs to grab his portfolio case. Thanks for driving me, Dad. Mr. Harrington wants the finalists there early to set up. During the drive, Vincent tried to focus on Drew's excitement about the competition, pushing aside thoughts of Laurel and Bailey. But as they approached the school, Drew's phone buzzed with a text. Mom says she's leaving early. Something about meeting a donor at home. Drew looked confused. Why would she meet someone at our house? Vincent's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I'm not sure. After dropping Drew off, Vincent did not immediately return home. He drove aimlessly, wrestling with what to do. Confront Laurel, demand answers from Bailey. Pretend he did not know and hope whatever was happening would burn itself out. Finally, he turned toward home, determined to have it out with Laurel, regardless of the consequences. As he pulled onto their street, he noticed an unfamiliar Jaguar parked in their driveway. Bailey's car. Vincent parked on the street and approached his house quietly. Through the kitchen window, he could see Laurel and Bailey in intimate conversation. Her hand on his chest, his arm around her waist. Vincent's blood pounded in his ears. He was about to burst through the door when his phone rang. Drew. Dad, something weird is happening. I forgot my external hard drive with some of my photos. I came home to get it, but Mom's car is here with some fancy Jaguar, and I think I heard voices from the backyard. Vincent's heart raced. Where are you now? Walking around to the back. I think they in the hot tub. Drew, wait, do not. But the line had already gone dead. Vincent ran toward his house, dread building with each step. As he reached the backyard gate, he heard shouting, then a splash, followed by angry male yells in the sound of a struggle. He pushed through the gate to find chaos. Bailey in the hot tub, face contorted with rage. Laurel standing wrapped in a towel, her expression horrified, and Drew, soaking wet, clutching his camera while blood trickled from his nose. You little pervert. Bailey shouted, give me that camera. Vincent rushed to his son's side. What happened? Are you hurt? Before Drew could answer, police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. I called them, Bailey said, pulling on a robe. Your son was taking pictures of us without consent. That's illegal. He attacked me. Drew said, his voice shaking. I came home to get my hard drive and found them together. I took pictures as evidence and he lunged at me. Vincent looked at Laurel, who could not meet his eyes. Is this true? Before she could answer, 2 police cruisers pulled up in front of the house. Officers rushed into the backyard, hands on their weapons. Boston police, everyone stay where you are. As the officers separated them for questioning, Vincent watches family imploding in real time. Drew, shivering and defiant, clutching his camera like a lifeline. Laurel, tears streaming down her face, looking between Vincent and Bailey as if unable to choose. Bailey, self-righteous and threatening, demanding Drew's arrest. One officer approached Vincent. Sir, we taking your son to the station for questioning regarding allegations of voyeurism and assault. What? That's absurd. Vincent protested. Yes, the victim here. Mr. Blackwood, the officer said firmly, you can meet us at the station. As they lead Drew away. The boy looked back at his father with pleading eyes. Dad, do not let them take my camera. The pictures prove everything. Vincent nodded, a cold determination settling over him. I'll be right behind you. He watched as the officers escorted Drew to a patrol car, while Bailey made a show of comforting Laurel. In that moment, as his son was driven away and his wife sought solace in another man's arms, something inside Vincent Blackwood changed forever. The nice, rule-following engineer was gone. In his place stood a man with nothing left to lose, and a burning desire to make those responsible pay dearly for what they'd done. Chapter 4, The Turning Point. Vincent's tires screeched as he pulled into the police station parking lot. His mind raised with fragmented thoughts. Drew's frightened face, Laurel's betrayal, Bailey's smug confidence. The weight of his wedding ring felt suddenly foreign on his finger. Inside, the desk sergeant barely looked up as Vincent approached. My son was just brought in. Drew Blackwood. Processing, have a seat. Vincent paced instead, checking his watch every 30 seconds. A familiar voice called his name. Vince. Jack Fleming stood in a doorway, beckoning him over. His expression was a mix of concern and professional detachment. Jack, thank God. Drew is in interview room B with Officer Ramirez. I pulled some strings to get involved when I saw his name come up in the system. Jack got Vincent down a hallway. What the hell happened? Vincent gave him the condensed version as they walked. Jack's jaw tightened. Bailey's pressing charges for voyeurism and assault. That's rich considering what we have on him. They stopped outside a door. Through the small window, Vincent could see Drew sitting alone. His eye beginning to swell, dried blood on a shirt collar. He is a minor. They ca not question him without a parent or lawyer present. Jack said, I'm bending rules letting you see him first. Inside, Drew jumped up when Vincent entered. Dad, they took my camera. Sit down, both of you. Jack said firmly, closing the door. I need to know exactly what happened, Drew. Drew's story spilled out in a rush. Coming home for his external hard drive, hearing voices in the backyard, discovering his mother and Bailey naked in the hot tub. I did not know what to do. I thought maybe if I had proof you'd believe me. So you took pictures, Vincent said gently. Drew nodded. Bailey saw me and went crazy. He lunged at me, knocked me into the water. When I tried to get out, he hit me. Said he was gonna break my camera and have me arrested for being a peeping Tom. His voice cracked. Mom just stood there, Dad. She did not stop him. Vincent's heart broke for his son. Where's your camera now? Evidence locker. Jack said. Bailey's demanding the memory card be destroyed without being viewed. Can you do that? Vincent asked. Jack's expression was grim. He's got influence, but no. Those photos are potential evidence in an assault case against him. I'll make sure they re-preserved. A knock at the door interrupted them. Officer Ramirez entered, accompanied by a stern-looking detective whose nameplate read Hargrove. Detective Fleming, you know you should not be in here, Hargrove said coldly. Just checking on a minor's welfare. Jack replied smoothly. Mr. Blackwood was concerned about his son's injuries. We'll take it from here, Hargrove said. Mr. Blackwood, I need to speak with you outside. In a hallway. Hargrove's demeanor shifted subtly. Mr. Theodore Bailey has agreed to drop the charges against your son under certain conditions. Vincent's eyes narrowed. What conditions? The photos will be deleted. And both parties agree not to pursue any further legal action. My son has a black eye and possibly a broken nose. Vincent said incredulously. Bailey assaulted him. Hargrove's expression remained impassive. Mr. Bailey claims your son was trespassing and photographing him without consent. He was defending his privacy. In my house. In my hot tub. With my wife. Vincent's voice rose. These are domestic matters. Hargrove said dismissively. Best resolved privately. Vincent was about to argue further when Jack appeared to decide. Detective Hargrove, a word. The two moved down the hall. Their hushed conversation intense. Vincent could not hear the words. But he saw Hargrove's face flush with anger before finally nodding reluctantly. Jack returned, a slight smile playing at his lips. Let us see those photos. In a small viewing room, Jack inserted the memory card into a computer. The images appeared on screen. Crystal clear evidence of Laurel and Bailey in the hot tub, followed by Bailey attacking Drew. The timestamp data was intact, creating an irrefutable timeline. These proved Bailey assaulted a minor. Jack said, We've got him. Detective Hargrove appeared in the doorway, his expression sour. The charges against Drew Blackwood are dropped. He is free to go and he assault charges against Bailey. Vincent asked. Hargrove's lip curled slightly. Mr. Bailey has suddenly become unavailable. His attorney says he is leaving town on business. Convenient. Jack muttered. What about the photos? Vincent asked. Evidence in an ongoing investigation. Jack said firmly before Hargrove could answer. They stay with us. Vincent noticed Jack copying files to a USB drive while Hargrove glared. Once Drew was released and they were walking to Vincent's car, Jack pressed the drive into Vincent's hand. Copy of the photos, just in case they mysteriously disappear from evidence. His expression grew serious. Vince, be careful. Bailey's got powerful friends and he does not like losing. Neither do I, Vincent replied. His voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Drew was silent during the drive home, staring out the window with his camera clutched protectively in his lap. Vincent kept glancing at him, wanted to say something reassuring, but finding no words adequate for the situation. When they pulled into their driveway, Drew finally spoke. Is Mom still here? Vincent had not considered that question. Laurel's car was gone. The house dark except for the porch light. I do not know, son. Inside, They found a hastily scribbled note on the kitchen counter. Need time to think. Staying with Diane. We'll call tomorrow. Diane? Drew asked. Bailey's CFO. Vincent said, the connections suddenly clear. Laurel had not just been sleeping with Bailey. She'd been integrated into his entire operation. Drew's face hardened. She's not coming back, is she? Vincent put his arm around his son's shoulders. I do not know. But whatever happens, we'll get through it. After making sure Drew's injuries were properly cleaned and iced, Vincent sent him to bed with a mild painkiller. Then he went to his study, inserted Jack South USB drive into his computer and examined each photograph. The images told a damning story. Not just of his wife's infidelity, but of Bailey's violin is sold on Drew. Vincent copied the files to multiple secure locations. Vincent selected images to his own email. His phone buzzed with a text from Russ. Just her. Bailey pulled strings to get Meridian's permit fast track for the contaminated site. City inspector who approved it is his cousin. This is insane. Vincent stared at the message. The piece is coming together. Bailey was not just corrupt in his personal life. His entire business operation was built on bribery, coercion, and corner cutting. The kind of practices that got people killed when buildings failed. His phone rang. Laurel. Vincent let it go to voicemail, then listened to her tearful message. Vincent, please, let me explain. It's not what it looked like. Bailey, he's been pressuring me. I did not know what to do. He threatened to ruin your business if I did not. Please call me back. Vincent deleted the message without replying. The journal entries he read told a different story. One of willing participation, not coercion. Instead, he opened his laptop and began researching Theodore Bailey. His businesses, properties, associates, and vulnerabilities. If Bailey wanted war, Vincent would give him one. But not the kind Bailey would expect from a mild-mannered engineer. By morning, Vincent had a plan forming. Not just for divorce, but for total destruction of the man who had shattered his family. Drew found him in the kitchen, making coffee. Dad, did you sleep? Not much. Vincent admitted, pouring a cup for each of them. How's the eye? Hurts? Drew touched the purple swelling gingerly. Mom called my phone like 10 times. I did not answer. Vincent nodded. That's your choice. You do not have to talk to her until you're ready. Drew stared into his coffee. The exhibition judging is today. I do not think I can go looking like this. Actually, Vincent said, an idea of forming, I think you should go. In fact, I think you should enter a new series. Drew looked up confused. What do you mean? Vincent set down his cup. You told me your project was called Hidden Lives, about the disconnect between public faces and private realities. Seems to me you've captured the ultimate example. The photos of Mom and Bailey. Drew looked horrified. I see not show those publicly. Not those specific images, Vincent clarified. But what about the aftermath? Your injuries. The police station. The broken trust. Real consequences of Hidden Lives exposed. Drew considered this, his photographer's mind clearly seeing possibilities. It would be raw, uncomfortable. Art should provoke, Vincent said, quoting one of Laurel's favorite phrases. Make people confront truths they rather ignore. A slow smile spread across Drew's face. The first since yesterday's chaos. Can you help me set up a shoot? I have some ideas. For the next few hours, Vincent helped Drew create a series of stark, powerful images. Drew's bruised face in harsh light. The hot tub with yellow police tape draped across it. Drew's reflection fractured in a shattered mirror, symbolizing broken family bonds. As they worked, Vincent's phone repeatedly lit up with calls from Laurel, Bailey's lawyer, and finally Bailey himself. Ignore them all. By afternoon, Drew had 12 images ready for printing. Vincent drove him to a professional photo lab where they rushed the processing. These are intense, the technician commented. For a school project, our competition, Drew explained. The theme is truth. Back home, they mounted the prints on black mat board. The final series, which Drew titled Broken Glass, told the story of betrayal and its aftermath without a single explicit image of the incident itself. You know Mom's colleagues will be at the exhibition, Drew said as they loaded the car. And probably some of Bailey's friends too. These photos will cause a scandal. Vincent looked at his son, so young yet suddenly so grown up. Are you prepared for that? Drew straightened his shoulders. This should be the ones worried about facing me. Not the other way around. At Westridge Academy, the exhibition was held in the same arts building Vincent had designed years ago where he first met Laurel. The irony was not lost on him as they carried Drew's portfolio inside. Mr. Harrington, the photography teacher, hurried over. Drew, my God, what happened to your face? And where's your original portfolio? Change of plans, Drew said calmly. I'm submitting a new series. As they set up Drew's photos in his assigned space, Vincent noticed people's reactions, the shocked gasps, the whispered conversations, the sidelong lenses. Word spread quickly through the crowd of gallery. Midway through the evening, Vincent spotted Laurel entering with Diane Walsh, Bailey's CFO. Laurel froze when she saw Drew's display, her face draining of color. She approached slowly as if walking to her execution. Drew, she whispered, reaching out to touch his bruised face. I'm so sorry. Drew stepped back from her touch. Sorry you did it? Or sorry you got caught? Laurel flinched. Her eyes met Vincent's over Drew's shoulder, pleading for help, but Vincent's expression remained impassive. We need to talk, she said to Vincent. Please, nothing to talk about. Vincent replied calmly. The photos say everything. Diane tugged at Laurel's arm. We should go. This is not a place. Running away again, Mom? Drew asked loudly enough for nearby attendees to hear. Like you ran away last night after letting your boyfriend attack me, conversations around them stopped. All eyes turned to their family drama unfolding in public. That's not what happened. Laurel protested weakly. The photos do not lie. Drew said, gesturing to his exhibition, neither does my face. The crowd had grown silent, watching the confrontation. Among them, Vincent spotted several school board members and prominent parents. The public humiliation was complete. Laurel backed away, tears streaming down her face, before turning and rushing from a gallery. Diane hurried after her, shooting Vincent a venomous look. Mr. Harrington approached cautiously. Drew, I think the judges should see your work now. As Drew walked the judging panel through his photos, Vincent stood back, watching his son handle himself with remarkable poise. Despite everything, or perhaps because of it, Drew had found his artistic voice. Hours later, as they drove home with the first-place medal and scholarship check, Drew finally broke down. I hate her for what she did to us. Vincent gripped the steering wheel tightly. Hate consumes the person feeling it more than its target. Then, what are you feeling? Drew asked, because I saw your face when Mom walked in. You look different. Vincent considered the question. I'm feeling resolved. Bailey and your mother made choices that hurt us. Now I want to make some choices of my own. Drew studied his father's profile in the darkness. What does that mean? It means, Vincent said calmly, that the story is not over yet. Not by a long shot. When they arrived home, Vincent found an envelope taped to the front door, divorce papers from Laurel's attorney with terms heavily favoring her. Included was a note suggesting generous settlement terms if Vincent agreed not to make trouble regarding the incident with Drew. Vincent ripped the papers in half and let them fall to the porch. Dad, Drew asked, watching the torn documents flutter in the evening breeze. Vincent placed his hand on his son's shoulder. They think money will make this go away. They think I'll roll over to avoid scandal. His voice hardened. They have no idea who they're dealing with. Inside, Vincent went straight to his study and opened his laptop. The plan he'd been formulating since dawn was about to move from theory to action. First, he murmured to himself. We need to understand exactly who we're fighting. Vincent began typing, initiating searches into Bailey's businesses, properties, and associates. On a legal pad, he started making notes, tracking shell companies, property transfers, and suspicious financial patterns. By midnight, he had the beginnings of a map showing Bailey's operation. How money flowed through seemingly legitimate businesses, where the pressure points might be, and most importantly, where Bailey had exposed himself to legal liability. The Wilbur Hotel project was just the tip of the iceberg. Bailey had been cutting corners and bribing officials for years, but he'd never faced an adversary who understood structural engineering, had connections and law enforcement, and possessed nothing left to lose. Vincent leaned back in his chair, a coldly satisfied smile spreading across his face. Bailey had destroyed Vincent's family in pursuit of profit. Now Vincent would destroy everything Bailey had built, brick by brick, until there was nothing left but rubble. And he knew exactly where to start. Chapter 5, Blueprints of Revenge. The morning after the exhibition, Vincent woke early and called Russ. I need access to all our files on the Wilbur project, he said without preamble. Every soil test, structural calculation, communication with Bailey's team. Vince, what's going on? I heard rumors about you and Laurel. I'll explain everything, but not over the phone. Meet me at Blackwood Storage in an hour. Blackwood Storage was a small warehouse Vincent had purchased years ago to store architectural models and project archives. It had become something of a running joke at the firm. Vincent's unwillingness to discard anything from past projects despite digital archiving. Today, that obsessive record-keeping would become the foundation of his plan. Russ arrived looking concerned, a cardboard tray of coffee balanced in one hand. "You look like hell, Vince." It's been an eventful 48 hours. Vincent accepted a coffee and unlocked the warehouse. Inside, row after row of labeled shelves held the physical history of Blackwood and Associates. As they settled at a dusty desk near the back, Vincent told Russ everything: the affair, Drew's arrest, the photos, and Laurel's betrayal. Russ whistleblow. "Jesus, Vince, I do not know what to say." "Say you help me," Vincent replied simply. With what exactly? Vincent pulled out his legal pad. "Bailey's entire operation is built on fraud, bribery, and cutting corners. The Wilburn Hotel is just as late as project, but I think it might be as most vulnerable." "Because of the contaminated soil?" Russ nodded. "Exactly, he got the permit's fast-tracked despite our warnings. When that building goes up, it'll be on toxic land. People could get sick, hotel guests, workers, nearby residents." Vincent leaned forward. "We have a professional obligation to stop it." "We already tried the legal route," Russ pointed out. "He hired Meridian instead." "We go beyond legal," Vincent said. "We go public, expose everything." Russ looked uncomfortable. "That could be seen as vindictive given your personal situation, which is why I need you. Your name on the whistleblowing, not mine." Vincent spread out his notes. "Bailey's not just building on contaminated land. I've been digging into his other properties. There's a pattern of code violations, mysterious injuries on construction sites, workers paid under the table." For the next several hours, they combed through physical files and digital records, building a comprehensive case against Bailey's business practices. Russ had access to industry databases Vincent did not, revealing that 3 former Bailey hotels had experienced structural issues after opening. "This goes deeper than I thought," Russ admitted, staring at the evidence they'd assembled. "But blowing the whistle could backfire. Bailey has friends in city government, connections with the building department, which is why we need leverage," Vincent agreed. "Something that forces action regardless of his connections." Vincent's phone buzzed. "Attacks from Jack, meeting with Drew today about pressing charges against Bailey. Might stick this time. Call me." "We need to involve Jack," Vincent decided. "Bailey's been operating in gray areas for years. There must be something definitively illegal we can pin on him." "Careful, Vince," Russ warned. "This is starting to sound like more than whistleblowing." Vincent met his friend's concerned gaze. "It's exactly what it sounds like. Bailey tried to destroy my family and my company. I'm returning the favor." After Russ left, promising to discreetly compile more evidence about Bailey's projects, Vincent drove to meet Jack at a park well away from police headquarters. Jack was throwing bread to ducks when Vincent found him. "Feeding wildlife is technically illegal in city parks," Vincent observed. "So is assault, but Bailey's walking free," Jack replied. "Speaking of which, Drew's statement was powerful. Photos make it clear-cut. Bailey's lawyer is pushing for a plea deal. Misdemeanor assault, community service, small fine." Vincent's jaw tightened. "That's insulting." "It's a start," Jack countered. "Get some in the system. First offense on record makes subsequent charges stick better." "You think there will be subsequent charges?" Jack tossed his last piece of bread. "Let's just say our surveillance on Bailey has intensified since your son's incident. We're rebuilding a case around his escort service connections. The Peterson Gallery angle is promising. Laurel could be implicated." Vincent noted. "Possibly. Does that bother you?" Vincent considered the question. "She made her choices." Jack studied his friend's face. "You've changed, Vince." "Circumstances changed me." Vincent handed Jack a flash drive. "This contains evidence of environmental violations at the Wilburn Hotel site, along with documentation of Bailey bribing city officials to fast-track permits. Thought your department might find it interesting." Jack pocketed the drive. "This helping your son or helping yourself?" "Just as serves everyone," Vincent replied. "How quickly can your department act on this?" "Depends on what's here and who sees it," Jack said carefully. "Environmental crimes are not my division. I'd have to pass it along. Bailey breaks ground next week. Once construction starts, the evidence literally gets buried." Jack nodded. "I'll do what I can." "But Vince," he hesitated. "Be careful. I've seen what revenge does to people. This is not revenge," Vincent said evenly. "It's accountability." As they parted ways, Vincent checked his phone to find 3 missed calls from Laurel and a text. "We need to talk about Drew. He's not responded to my messages." "Please, Vincent." Vincent ignored it and called Drew instead. How are you holding up? My statement with Detective Hardrow took 4 hours. Drew said, sounding exhausted. They kept asking the same questions different ways. Standard tactic, Vincent assured him. They rebuilding a solid case. Mom keeps calling, so she wants to explain. What do you want to do about that? Vincent asked carefully. After a long pause, Drew answered. I'm not ready to talk to her yet. Maybe never. That's your choice and I'll support whatever you decide. Vincent promised. But do not make permanent decisions from temporary emotions. That sounds like something Mom would say. Drew observed. She is still your mother. Vincent acknowledged. Whatever else she is done. After ending the call, Vincent drove to his office for the first time since Drew's arrest. He needed to maintain appearances while executing his plan. Maggie, his assistant, approached cautiously as he entered. Russ told me what happened. I'm so sorry, Vincent. Thank you. He said simply, heading for his private office. Once alone, Vincent opened his computer and accessed the files Russ had compiled. The evidence against Bailey was substantial but not yet overwhelming. They needed something more definitive. Something that could not be explained away or buried by Bailey's connections. Vincent's phone rang. An unfamiliar number. Vincent Blackwood, he answered. Mr. Blackwood, this is Diane Walsh, CFO for Bailey Developments. Vincent's grip tightened on the phone. MS. Walsh, what can I do for you? I'm calling as a courtesy, she said, her tone professionally detached. Mr. Bailey is prepared to drop all charges against your son and offer a generous settlement. If you agree to cease your investigation into his business affairs. Vincent's eyebrows rose. I was not aware, Mr. Bailey knew about any investigation. Mr. Bailey has friends in many departments. She replied smoothly. He is willing to be magnanimous despite the public embarrassment your family has caused him. Magnanimous, Vincent repeated. Like when he assaulted my 17-year-old son? A regrettable misunderstanding, Diane said. One that need not define your future relationship. And what exactly does this generous settlement entail? $3 million. Half for you. Half in a trust for Drew. In exchange, you signed non-disclosure agreements and agree not to pursue any action against Mr. Bailey or his companies. Vincent leaned back in his chair. And Laurel? What's her cut? Diane hesitated. Mrs. Blackwood's arrangements are separate. I'm sure they are. Vincent kept his voice level. Please tell Mr. Bailey. I'll consider his offer. He needs an answer by tomorrow. Diane pressed. Construction begins Monday. I'll be in touch. Vincent said before hanging up. He sat motionless, processing the implications. Bailey knew about their investigation. He was worried enough to offer money, which meant they were on a right track. And Bailey had vulnerabilities he needed to protect. Vincent made 2 calls. First to Rust, instructing him to secure their evidence in multiple locations. Then to Jack. Bailey just tried to buy me off, he told the detective. $3 million to stop the investigation and sign an NDA. Jack whistled. That's a mission of guilt if I ever heard one. It's also confirmation he has sources inside your department. Vincent pointed out. He knows we regathering evidence. Not surprised. Jack admitted. Bailey's tentacles reach everywhere. Makes our job harder. Or easier. Vincent countered. If he is desperate enough to offer bribes, he is vulnerable. We just need to find where. That evening, Vincent returned home to find Drew setting up camera equipment in the living room. What's this? Vincent asked, surveying the studio lights and backdrops. Senior project. Drew explained. Mr. Harrington suggested I continue the Broken Glass series. Document the aftermath. Vincent studied the setup. You reusing our family crisis as your art project? I'm processing trauma through creative expression. Drew corrected, perfectly mimicking his mother's academic tone. Is not that what art is for? Vincent could not help but smile. Despite everything, Drew was finding his way through. What do you need from me? Sit there. Drew instructed, pointing to a chair. Look contemplative. For the next hour, Vincent posed for his son's camera. Sometimes staring directly into the lens. Sometimes gazing at family photos Drew had arranged his props. The experience was strangely cathartic. These are going to be powerful, Drew said, reviewing the images on his camera. The exhibition judges want me to expand the series for a special showcase next month. Proud of you, Vincent said, using this situation to create something meaningful. Drew lowers camera. Dad, what are you going to do about Bailey? Vincent considered his answer carefully. I'm going to make sure he faces consequences for his actions. Both against our family and against the public through his business practices. And Mom, Vincent S. sighed, your mother made her choices. Now she'll live with the consequences. Later that night, Vincent sat in a study reviewing the evidence they gathered, looking for the pressure point that would bring Bailey down. His phone buzzed with a text from Russ. Found something. Bailey falsified environmental impact statements on 3 previous projects. Have documentation linking him directly to the fraud. This could be criminal, not just civil. Vincent smiled grimly. This was exactly what they needed. Evidence of willful criminal behavior that could not be explained away as an oversight or miscommunication. Another text came through, this one from Jack, meeting with Environmental Crimes Division tomorrow. They were interested. Very interested. The pieces were falling into place. Bailey had built his empire on corrupt foundations. And now those foundations were beginning to crumble. Vincent's phone rang, Laurel again. This time he answered. Vincent, thank you for picking up. She said, her voice thick with emotion. We need to talk about Drew. There's nothing to discuss. Vincent replied coldly. He'll decide when or if you want to speak with you. Please, Vincent. This situation is more complicated than you know. Bailey is not who you think he is. I know exactly who he is, Vincent countered. A corrupt businessman who assaulted my son and tried to buy my silence. Laurel gasped. He offered you money. $3 million. Apparently you have your own arrangement. Vincent, listen to me. Laurel said urgently. Bailey is dangerous. If you reinvestigating him, you need to be careful. He has connections. People who do more than just bribe officials. Are you threatening me, Laurel? I'm warning you, she insisted. For your own safety. For Drew's safety. Vincent's hand tightened on the phone. You lost the right to concern yourself with our safety when you brought that man into our home. Vincent handed the call, his mind racing. Laurel seemed genuinely frightened, which only confirmed they were on a right track. Bailey was dangerous. And now he was scared. The next morning, Vincent met with his lawyer to file for divorce. The terms were straightforward. Vincent would keep the house and business. Laurel would keep her retirement accounts and investments. Split custody of Drew, though at 17 he would largely determine his own arrangements. This is unusually generous regarding the business, his lawyer noted. Most spouses would fight for a share of successful firm like yours. Laurel would not contest it. Vincent said confidently. She has incentive to keep this quick and quiet. Afterward, Vincent drove to meet Russ at a cafe near their office. Russ arrived with a thick folder under his arm. Environmental impact reports from Bailey's last 3 hotels. He explained, sliding into the booth. The official versions submitted to the city and the actual test results his company buried. Vincent scanned the documents. These contaminant levels are off the charts. How did he get approval? Same way he always does. Money in the right pockets. Russ leaned forward. But here's the kicker. I traced the money. Bailey used a shell company to pay off the inspectors. But he was sloppy. The transactions linked directly back to his personal accounts. Vincent looked up sharply. Can you prove that? Russ nodded. Already have. Paper trail is solid. This could be enough for criminal charges. Vincent realized. Exactly, Russ agreed. But Vincent, if we go public with this, the blowback will be intense. Bailey would not go down quietly. I'm counting on it, Vincent said. The louder he screams, the more attention he draws to his own crimes. Vincent's phone buzzed with a text from Jack. Bailey canceled groundbreaking ceremony for Wilburn Hotel. Project temporarily delayed for additional environmental review. We got him running scared. Vincent showed Russ the message. A grim smile spreading across his face. Phase 1 complete. What's Phase 2? Russ asked cautiously. Depends on Bailey's next move, Vincent replied. The ball's south in his court now. Vincent did not have to wait long for Bailey's response. That evening, as he reviewed architectural plans in his home office, the doorbell rang. Drew is out with friend from photography club, so Vincent answered himself. Theodore Bailey stood on his porch, alone, wearing an expensive suit and a tight smile. Vincent, may I come in? Vincent leaned against the doorframe, blocking entry. I do not think that a good idea. I think you want to hear what I have to say. Bailey insisted. It concerns your future and Drew's. Say it here. Bailey glanced around, clearly uncomfortable having this conversation on a front porch. You've been causing me some inconvenience with these allegations about my business practices. Not allegations. Facts. Interpretations. Bailey countered smoothly. Regardless, I'm prepared to increase my earlier offer. $5 million. Plus I'll publicly apologize to Drew for our misunderstanding. Vincent studied the man who had helped destroy his marriage and assault his son. Bailey's confident facade had cracks. A slight twitch near his left eye. A bead of sweat despite the cool evening. No, Vincent said simply. Bailey blinked. No, perhaps you did not hear me. $5 million. I heard you. Vincent replied. The answer is no. Bailey's expression hardened. You should reconsider. I have resources you see not imagine. Connections and places that can make problems for you and your firm. Are you threatening me? I'm stating facts, Bailey said. This path you are on leads nowhere good for you or your son. Vincent stepped forward, closing the distance between them. Let me be clear, Bailey. I do not want your money. What I want is for you to lose everything. Just like I did. Bailey's mask slipped, revealing a flash of genuine alarm before he recovered. Be reasonable, Vincent. This vendetta serves no one. It serves justice, Vincent replied. Now get off my property before I add trespassing to the charges against you. Bailey straightened his tie. You've made a serious mistake. I hope you prepared for the consequences. I've been preparing for 2 days, Vincent said coldly. The question is, are you prepared for what's coming? After Bailey left, Vincent called Jack. Bailey just came to my house. Offered $5 million to drop everything. Then threatened me when I refused. Did he specify the threat? Vague implications about his resources and connections. Vincent reported. Nothing explicit. Be careful, Vince. We're moving on the environmental crimes. But the case is not solid yet. Bailey could still wiggle free. Not if we keep applying pressure, Vincent insisted. How soon can your department move? Search warrant for Bailey's offices could come through tomorrow. Jack said. But like I said, he's friends in high places. Some might tip him off. Count on it. Vincent agreed. But let us use that to our advantage. Over the next hour, Vincent outlined his plan to Jack. If Bailey was tipped off about the search warrant, he tried to destroy evidence. They could catch him in the act, adding obstruction of justice to his charges. Vincent hung up feeling more energized than he had in days. The plan was coming together. Bailey was reacting exactly as predicted. First with money, then with threats. His next move would be to destroy evidence. And they'd be waiting. As Vincent headed upstairs for the first decent night's sleep since Drew's arrest, his phone buzzed with attacks from an unknown number. Bailey hired someone. Watch your back. Laurel. Warning again. Vincent stared at the message, wondering if it was genuine concern or another manipulation. Either way, the implication was clear. Bailey was escalating beyond legal channels. Vincent checked the house security system. Make sure all doors and windows were locked. Then called Drew. Hey, Dad, what's up? Where are you? Vincent asked, trying to keep his tone casual. Jake's house? We re-editing photos for the exhibition. Stay there tonight. Vincent instructed. Or better yet, go to Grandma's. Do not come home until I call you. Dad, what's wrong? Just a precaution. Vincent assured him. Bailey came by. Made some vague threats. I do not think he'll do anything. But I feel better knowing you're safe. After confirming Drew would go to Vincent's mother's house, Vincent sat in his darkened study, contemplating his next move. If Bailey had indeed hired someone, the situation had escalated beyond what Vincent had anticipated. He pulled out his legal pad and began mapping a revised strategy. Bailey was scared enough to resort to intimidation, possibly even violence. That meant their evidence was solid, but it also meant Bailey was growing desperate. Desperate men were dangerous, but they also made mistakes. Vincent smiled grimly in the darkness. Bailey's mistake was thinking he was dealing with an ordinary man seeking ordinary justice. Vincent had moved beyond that the moment he saw his son's bruised face. Bailey wanted to play hardball? Fine. Vincent was just getting started. Chapter 6, Fault Lines. Vincent woke at dawn to his phone buzzing insistently. Jack's name flashed on the screen. They re-executing the search warrant at Bailey's offices in an hour. Jack said without preamble. As expected, he got tipped off. Surveillance team reports unusual activity all night. Shredder's running, files being removed. Perfect. Vincent said, already getting dressed. Where do you need me? Nowhere near the scene. Jack replied firmly. This is police business, Vince. Stay away. After hanging up, Vincent called Russ. That's happening. Search warrant at Bailey's offices this morning. Think they'll find anything? Russ asked. If he was tipped off. That's why we anonymously sent copies of the most damning documents to the Environmental Crimes Division yesterday. Vincent reminded him. Even if Bailey destroys his copies, the investigators already have what they need. Vincent drove to a coffee shop with a view of Bailey Development's corporate headquarters. Close enough to observe but far enough away to avoid detection. From his vantage point, he watched 3 police cruisers in an unmarked van pull up to the building. His phone buzzed with a text from Jack in progress. Bailey tried to claim attorney-client privilege on environmental documents. Not gonna fly. For the next 2 hours, Vincent nursed his coffee while monitoring the situation from afar. Officers carried out boxes of documents and computer equipment. Bailey himself emerged, just stimulating angrily at someone who appeared to be his lawyer. Vincent's phone rang. Drew. Dad, there's news about Mr. Bailey on TV. They saying he's being investigated for environmental crimes. Is this because of us? That's because of his own actions, Vincent corrected. But yes, we help bring those actions to light. Is it over then? Drew asked. Can I come home? Vincent watched as Bailey was escorted to a police car. Not in handcuffs, not yet, but clearly being taken in for questioning. Not quite over, Vincent said cautiously. But the most dangerous part may have passed. Stay at Grandma's for now. I'll call when it's safe. After hanging up, Vincent's phone immediately rang again. Laurel. I just saw the news, she said when he answered. Vincent, you need to be careful. Bailey would not take this lying down. He does not have much choice, Vincent replied. The evidence is overwhelming. You do not understand, Laurel insisted, her voice tight with anxiety. Bailey has contingency plans for everything. He told me once that he keeps insurance against anyone who might threaten him. Information, compromising photos, financial leverage. Nothing he has on me will matter compared to what we have on him. Vincent said confidently. That's not just about what he has on you, Laurel warned. It's about what he's willing to do to protect himself. Vincent's attention was drawn back to the scene outside Bailey's office building. The developer was now sitting in the back of a police car. His face contorted with rage as he shouted into a cell phone. I appreciate the warning, Laurel, Vincent said, preparing to end the call. Vincent, wait, she pleaded. About what happened with Bailey and me. It was not what you think. I saw the journal entries, Laurel. You seemed quite enthusiastic about the relationship. Those were, she hesitated. Those were for show. Bailey asked me to write them. Said it would spice things up. Vincent's grip tightened on his phone. So you saying he forced you? Not exactly, Laurel admitted. At first it was flattering his attention, the gifts, the opportunities. But once I was in, I realized how controlling he is. While I tried to end it, he threatened to ruin your firm's reputation to hurt Drew's college prospects. Yet you brought him to our home. Vincent pointed out coldly. To our bedroom. Our hot tub. That was the first time, I swear, Laurel said. Her voice cracking. He insisted on coming over. Said it was time to claim his territory. I was terrified of what he might do if I refused. Vincent watched the police car with Bailey inside pull away from a curb. Why should I believe any of this? Because despite everything, I never stopped loving you, Laurel said quietly. And because I know things about Bailey that can help you, things he told me that the police should know. Such as, not over the phone, Laurel insisted. Can we meet? Vincent considered the request. If Laurel was telling the truth, her information could be valuable. If she was lying, well, he'd know soon enough. The cafe at the Gardner Museum, he decided. 1 hour. Thank you, Vincent. After hanging up, Vincent called Jack again. How's it going? Better than expected. Jack reported. Bailey's team tried to destroy evidence. But we got most of it. Plus, he's on video, personally feeding documents into a shredder after being notified of the search warrant. Obstruction charges are a slam dunk. Is he in custody? Being questioned. His lawyers already demanding a deal. Do not let him plead down. Vincent urged. The environmental crimes are just the beginning. We're rebuilding the case. Jack assured him. But Vince, this is moving into areas beyond my division. FBI's getting involved due to the interstate nature of Bailey's businesses. Keep me posted, Vincent said. I'm meeting Laurel. She claims to have additional information about Bailey. Be careful, Jack warned. Her motivations are unclear at this point. Vincent arrived at the Gardner Museum. Cafe 15 minutes early. Selecting a table with a clear view of all entrances. The museum had been the site of Vincent and Laurel's first date, a fact she'd likely remember when suggesting this location. Laurel arrived exactly on time, looking considerably less polished than the last time Vincent had seen her. Her hair was pulled back simply, her makeup minimal, her clothing understated. She paused in the doorway, eyes scanning the cafe until she spotted Vincent. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, sliding into the chair across from him. Vincent did not respond immediately, studying the woman he'd shared 15 years with. He'd thought he knew her completely, yet in the span of 3 days, she'd become a stranger. "You said you have information," he prompted. Laurel glanced around nervously before opening her purse and removing a USB drive. "Everything I could gather about Bailey's operations. Financial records, names of officials he's bribed. Details about properties built on contaminated land. Why would he share this kind of information with you?" "He did not, exactly," Laurel admitted, "but he's arrogant. Boast about his cleverness when he thinks he's among friends. I listen, remembered, and sometimes when he left his laptop open." She pushed the drive across the table. "Copied what I could." Vincent picked up the drive, turning it over in his fingers. "Why give this to me now? Why not when Drew is arrested?" "I was scared," Laurel said, her eyes dropping. "Bailey has made it very clear what happens to people who betray him. But seeing the police at his office this morning, I realized this might be my only chance to get out." "Get out," Vincent repeated. "So you still involved with him?" "Not by choice," Laurel insisted. "Vincent, I made a terrible mistake getting involved with Bailey. I regretted it every day. But once you in his world, he does not let you simply walk away. Yet here you are betraying him. Because I not live with myself otherwise," she said, a tear sliding down her cheek. "What happened to Drew was the last straw. I should have stopped Bailey. I should have protected our son." Vincent pocketed the USB drive. "What specifically is on here that the police do not already have?" "Records of payments to local officials for the Wilburn hotel permits. Evidence that Bailey knew about the contamination before purchasing the land." And Laurel hesitated. "Information about his other businesses. The escort service Vincent supplied." Laurel looked surprised. "You know about that? Jack has been investigating Bailey for months," Vincent explained. "The Peterson Gallery connection is already on their radar." "That's worse than they know," Laurel said quietly. "Bailey does not just arrange escorts for wealthy clients. He collects compromising information during those encounters. Recordings, photos. He uses them for blackmail when necessary." Vincent's expression darkened. "Is that why you really here? Because he has something on you." "He has something on everyone in his orbit," Laurel admitted, "including me. But that's not why I'm here." She reached across the table, her fingers stopping just short of touching Vincent's hand. "I'm here because I want to make things right. For Drew. For you. Even if you can never forgive me." Vincent studied her face, looking for signs of deception. The Laurel he'd known for 15 years had been honest to a fault. But that was before Bailey. "I'll get this to Jack," he said, patting his pocket with the USB drive. "If it helps build the case against Bailey, that's a start." "Thank you," Laurel said. "There's one more thing you should know. Bailey has a property in Vermont, a hunting lodge registered under a shell company. That's where he keeps his most sensitive files. The USB has the coordinates." Vincent nodded. "Anything else?" Laurel bit her lip. "Can I see Drew? Just to apologize." "That's his decision, not mine," Vincent replied. "Right now he's not ready." "Understand," Laurel said, though her expression crumbled. "When you see him, tell him I love him. Tell him I'm sorry." "I'll tell him," Vincent promised, standing to leave. "Vincent," Laurel called as he turned away. "Be careful. Even with the police involved, Bailey is dangerous. He would not hesitate to hurt you if he thinks you behind this." Vincent looked back at the woman who had been his wife, the mother of his child. Now a stranger warning him about her lover. "I'm counting on it." Instead of going straight to Jack with the USB drive, Vincent drove to a secure location. a private office he kept separate from Blackwood and Associates for personal projects. There he could safely examine the drive's contents without risk of Bailey's associates intercepting the information. The files were extensive and damning. Financial records showing clear patterns of bribery. Environmental reports with actual contamination levels far exceeding what had been reported to authorities. List of officials on Bailey's payroll. But most disturbing was a folder labeled insurance. Inside were hundreds of files organized by name. Politicians, business leaders, judges, police officials. Each contained compromising information Bailey had collected. Photos, recordings, financial dirt. Vincent searched for his own name but found nothing. However, a file labeled Blackwood Associates contained detailed information about the firm's clients, projects, and financials. Information Bailey could use to damage Vincent professionally if not personally. Vincent copied the most crucial files to a separate drive before calling Jack. Found something. Jack answered. Laurel provided a USB drive with extensive evidence against Bailey. Vincent explained, including details about his blackmail operations. Blackmail? Jack sounded alarmed. Bailey apparently collects compromising information on powerful people. Use it as leverage when needed. Vincent hesitated. Jack, your name is not in these files. A Commissioner Parker is. Silence on the line. That complicates things. Parker oversees the Environmental Crimes Division. It explains why Bailey's always been a step ahead of investigations. Vincent noted. We need to take this to someone outside Bailey's sphere of influence. FBI, Jack decided. They've already shown interest in the interstate aspects. I have a contact we can trust. They arranged to meet that evening at a secure location to transfer the evidence. In the meantime, Vincent copied the files to multiple secure locations. If anything happened to him, the information would still find its way to authorities. His phone buzzed with a text from Russ. Bailey released on bail. Looking for you. Office received threatening call. Vincent immediately called Drew. Everything okay, Grandma S? Fine, Drew assured him. Though she's driving me crazy asking questions I do not want to answer. Stay there. Vincent instructed. Bailey is out on bail. I do not think he'd target you. But let us not take chances. After hanging up, Vincent considered his options. Bailey would be looking for both revenge and damage control. The smart move would be to lay low until meeting Jack. Instead, Vincent drove to Bailey's penthouse. The luxury building had tight security, but Vincent had come prepared. He approached the concierge desk confidently. Vincent Blackwood for Theodore Bailey, he announced. He is expecting me. The concierge checked the list. I do not see you on Mr. Bailey's approved visitors, sir. Vincent frowned. That is odd. He called me directly after his release. Said it was urgent we discuss the Wilbon project modifications. Let me call up. The concierge offered. No need to disturb him. Vincent said smoothly, pulling out his phone. I'll call him myself. Vincent stepped away, pretending to make a call while observing the security procedures. 2 key cards needed. One for the elevator, one for the penthouse floor. Armed security guard by the private elevator. After a moment, Vincent returned to the desk. Mr. Bailey says there must have been a misunderstanding. We're rescheduling for tomorrow. As Vincent turned to leave, he spotted Diane Walsh entering the lobby. Their eyes met briefly before Vincent ducked his head and quickened his pace. Too late. Mr. Blackwood, she called. Her voice carrying across the marble expanse. What a surprise. Vincent turned, forcing a neutral expression. Ms. Walsh, I would not have expected to find you here, she said, approaching with measured steps, especially today. Just clearing up a misunderstanding about a meeting, Vincent explained smoothly. I see. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Mr. Bailey is quite occupied today, as I'm sure you can imagine. Of course, give him my regards. Vincent turned to go, but Diane placed a manicured hand on his arm. Actually, since you're here, Mr. Bailey asked me to convey a message if I saw you. Vincent waited, maintaining his neutral expression. He wanted you to know that his offer remains open. 5 million, no questions asked. Her voice lowered. It would be the sensible choice, Mr. Blackwood. Some situations have no winners, only survivors. Vincent removed her hand from his arm. I appreciate the message, Ms. Walsh. My answer remains the same. Her smile never reached her eyes. He thought you might say that. His alternative proposal is less financial in nature. Meaning some accidents not be traced, she said softly. Brakes fail. Gas lines leak. Structural supports weakened. Vincent held her gaze. Is that a threat, Ms. Walsh? Nearly an observation from someone who's seen how these situations typically resolve. She stepped back. Good day, Mr. Blackwood. Vincent watched her cross the lobby to the private elevator with a security guard nodded respectfully and swiped his card. As the doors closed, Diane looked directly at Vincent with a smile that shielded his blood. Outside, Vincent called Jack again. Bailey's using Diane Walsh to deliver threats. They mention accidents, brake failures, gas leaks, structural failures. Documented, witnessed, but not recorded, Vincent admitted. Not enough for additional charges, Jack said regretfully, but definitely enhances the threat assessment. I'm sending a patrol car past your house and office at regular intervals. Thanks, but I would not be at either location. Vincent explained. I'm going underground until our meeting. Smart. Bailey's probably got people watching both places. Vincent's next call was to Russ. I need you to activate the contingency protocol we discussed. Already done, Russ confirmed. All evidence secured in multiple locations. Deadman switches set. If anything happens to either of us, everything goes public simultaneously through 6 different channels. And affirm. Essential operations continuing with minimal staff. Most employees working remotely due to office renovations. Vincent felt a surge of gratitude for his partner's efficiency. Make sure everyone stays clear of the office for the next 48 hours. Bailey's making threats through Diane Walsh. Jesus, Russ muttered. This is getting serious, Vince. It was always serious, Vincent replied. Bailey just did not realize who he was dealing with. For the next several hours, Vincent moved carefully through the city, changing locations regularly, using cash for all transactions, keeping his phone off except for brief necessary communications. By evening, he made his way to the arranged meeting point with Jack, an abandoned construction site Vincent's firm had evaluated last year, but deemed structurally unsound for renovation. The irony was not lost on him. Jack arrived alone as planned. You look like hell, Vince. Been a long day, Vincent admitted, handing over the USB drive. Everything Bailey's operation is there. The blackmail files are particularly interesting. Jack pocketed the drive. FBI contact is meeting me in an hour. With this evidence, they'll be able to secure warrants for Bailey's other properties, including that Vermont Lodge Laurel mentioned. When will they move? Tomorrow morning, Jack said, multiple coordinated raids. Bailey would not have time to destroy evidence. Vincent nodded, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. It's almost over then. Jack looked skeptical. The legal process is just beginning, Vince. Trial's appeals, it could take years. But Bailey's operation will be dismantled. Vincent pointed out. His reputation destroyed. His freedom severely limited. If everything goes according to plan, Jack agreed. Speaking of which, where will you be staying tonight? Not at home, I hope. Hotel under a different name, Vincent assured him. Drew's safe of my mother's. And Laurel, Vincent frowned. I do not know. Have not spoken to her since this morning. Might be worth checking, Jack suggested. If Bailey suspects she provided evidence. The implication hung in the air. Vincent pulled out his phone and dialed Laurel's number. He went straight to voicemail. No answer. He reported a niggle of concern forming despite his anger toward her. I'll have someone drive by her hotel. Jack promised. Just to be safe, they parted ways with a quick handshake. Jack heading to his FBI contact. Vincent to his temporary sanctuary. As Vincent drove, his mind raced with possibilities. By this time tomorrow, Bailey's empire could be crumbling. Just as for Drew, consequences for Bailey closure for their family. It's something nagged at him. Laurel's warning about Bailey's dangerous desperation. Her unanswered phone, Diane Walsh's thinly veiled threats. Bailey had been backed into a corner and cornered predators were unpredictable. Vincent checked into a nondescript hotel near the airport. Paying cash using a name from one of the firm's shell companies created for discrete property acquisitions. Once in his room, he checked for signs of surveillance or tampering. Satisfied he was secure, he finally allowed himself to relax slightly. His phone buzzed with a text from Jack. FBI impressed with evidence. Raid scheduled for 6 a.m. Stay low until then. Vincent sent brief messages to Drew and Russ, confirming his safety without revealing his location. Then he tried Laurel again. Still straight to voicemail. As Vincent prepared for bed, his phone buzzed with an incoming email. The sender was listed as insurance policy with no content in the subject line. Cautiously, Vincent opened it. A video file was attached. The preview image showed Laurel, seated in what appeared to be a hotel room, looking frightened. Vincent's heart rate accelerated as he downloaded and played the video. Vincent, Laurel's voice was strained, her eyes darting nervously off camera. Bailey knows I gave you the USB drive. He has people watching the Garden Museum. She swallowed hard. He wants the original drive back along with all copies. If he does not get them by morning, he says. Her voice broke. He says Drew will be next. The camera shifted to show Theodore or Bailey entering the frame, his hand resting possessively on Laurel's shoulder. Vincent Bailey's smooth voice carried none of the desperation one might expect from a man facing criminal charges. I admire your persistence. But this ends now. The USB drive and all copies delivered to the Wilbur and Hotel construction site by 5 a.m. Come alone where your son pays the price. The video ended abruptly, leaving Vincent staring at a blank screen, his mind calculating possibilities. Bailey had Laurel, willingly or unwillingly, remained unclear. He was threatening Drew and he believed he still had leverage. Vincent immediately called Jack, who answered on the first ring. Bailey's got Laurel. Vincent reported without preamble. Send a video demanding the USB drive by 5 a.m. or he goes after Drew. God damn it, Jack swore. Where's Drew now? Still my mother's. I'll call to verify. Vincent's mind was already racing ahead. Bailey wants to meet at the Wilbur and site. It's a trap, Jack said immediately. He's desperate, cornered. I know, Vincent agreed. But he still thinks he's in control. Vincent, do not even think about going there alone. I'm not, Vincent assured him. But I'll need your help setting up a counter-trap. For the next hour, Vincent and Jack plan meticulously. FBI agents will be positioned covertly around the Wilbur and site. Jack would monitor from nearby, ready to intervene if necessary. Vincent would appear to comply with Bailey's demands while wearing a wire. The goal is to get Bailey to incriminate himself further. Jack explained. Admit to the blackmail, the threats against Drew, the coercion of Laurel. And if Laurel's willing participation, Vincent asked the question that had been annoying at him. Jack hesitated. It'll come out one way or another, Vince. Are you prepared for that? I just want the truth, Vincent said. Whatever it is, after confirming Drew was safe and placing additional police protection at his mother's house. Vincent tried to get some rest before the 5 a.m. meeting. But sleep eluded him as his mind kept returning to the video. Laurel's frightened eyes, Bailey's confident smirk. By 4 a.m. Vincent was on a move, driving toward the Wilbur and Hotel construction site with a duplicate USB drive containing carefully selected files enough to seem legitimate without providing anything truly valuable. The construction site was eerily quiet in a pre-dawn darkness, surrounded by temporary fencing and dominated by the skeletal beginnings of the hotel's foundation. Vincent parked, were instructed, in plain view of the main entrance. As he stepped out of his car, the wire taped to his chest felt bulky and obvious, though Jack had assured him it was virtually undetectable. Vincent walked slowly toward the site entrance, where a single security light. The gate stood ajar, an invitation. Bailey, Vincent called out. I'm here, alone as requested. For a moment only silence answered him. Then footsteps crunched on gravel and Diane Walsh emerged from the shadows. Mr. Blackwood, she greeted him coolly. You came. Where's Laurel? Vincent demanded. Where's Bailey? All in good time, Diane replied. The USB drive first. Vincent produced the duplicate, holding it up. I want to see Laurel before I hand this over. Diane smiled thinly. That's not how this works. The drive, then your wife. Ex-wife, Vincent corrected automatically. Not technically, Diane noted, the divorce is not final. Before Vincent could respond, Bailey himself stepped out from behind a construction trailer, alone, no sign of Laurel. Vincent, Bailey greeted him as if they were meeting for a business lunch rather than a 5 a.m. blackmail exchange. I appreciate your punctuality. Where's Laurel? Vincent repeated. Bailey gestured vaguely. Safe. For now, the drive. Not until I see her. Bailey sighed dramatically. Always so stubborn. It's what I admired about you professionally, you know? Your unwillingness to compromise. He nodded to Diane, who spoke briefly into a phone. Moments later, Laurel emerged from the same construction trailer, escorted by a burly man Vincent did not recognize. She looked disheveled but unharmed. Vincent, she called, her voice breaking. I'm sorry. He made me record that video. It's okay. Vincent assured her, his eyes not leaving Bailey. You were going to be fine. Bailey smiled coldly. That depends entirely on you, Vincent. The drive, please. Vincent held up the USB. Let her go first. I think not, Bailey countered. The drive first. Then Laurel walks to your car. You both leave, and we forget this unfortunate chapter. Andrew, Vincent pressed. The threats against my son, Bailey shrugged. A negotiating tactic. Nothing more. I have no interest in harming a teenager. Like you had no interest when you assaulted him in my backyard. Vincent's voice hardened. A regrettable misunderstanding. Bailey said dismissively. The boy surprised us. I reacted poorly. Vincent took a step forward. The USB drive extended. Here's what's going to happen, Bailey. You're going to let Laurel go. Then I'm going to give you this drive. And then I'm going to watch as the FBI arrest you for blackmail, assault, environmental crimes, and kidnapping. Bailey's expression did not change, but his eyes flicked briefly toward the surrounding darkness. FBI, I think not, Vincent. I know if they were here. Like you knew Laurel was copying files from your laptop. Vincent countered. Like you knew your environmental crimes were being investigated. You're not as clever as you think, Bailey. A flicker of uncertainty crossed Bailey's face before he mastered it. Enough games. The drive now or things get unpleasant. Vincent tossed the USB drive onto the ground between them. Take it. Bailey nodded to the burly man who released Laurel's arm. She immediately ran to Vincent's side. Are you okay? Vincent asked quietly. Yes, she whispered. Vincent, I'm so sorry for everything. Meanwhile, Diane had retrieved the USB drive and handed it to Bailey, who examined it briefly before pocketing it. Now leave, Bailey ordered. Both of you, and understand this. If anything happens to me, certain information about both of you will become very public. I've made arrangements. More blackmail. Vincent shook his head. You never learned to you. Bailey smiled thinly. It's not blackmail, Vincent. It's insurance. Something you should have considered before starting this vendetta. Not a vendetta. Vincent corrected. Justice. Justice. Bailey scoffed. Is that what you call destroying a man's business over a personal grievance? It's what I call holding someone accountable for assaulting my son and building hotels on toxic land. Vincent replied steadily. Bailey's expression darkened. You self-righteous hypocrite. Your wife came to me willingly. Vincent. Eagerly. She was bored with your predictable, workaholic life. She wanted excitement, passion, power. Things you could never provide. Vincent felt Laurel tense beside him but kept his eyes on Bailey. Is that what you told yourself to justify sleeping with a married woman? That she was unfulfilled? Ask her yourself. Bailey suggested with a cruel smile. Ask her about the weekends in New York, the jewelry, the promises she made. Ask her how many times she laughed about your obliviousness. Vincent, do not listen to him. Laurel pleaded. It was not like that. Was not it? Bailey taunted. Show him your ankle. Laurel. Show him my gift. Despite herself, Laurel's hand moved toward the hem of her pants. Vincent caught a glimpse of a small tattoo. Bailey's initials in an ornate script. You branded her. Vincent said, his voice dangerously quiet. She begged for it. Bailey claimed. Said it made her feel owned. Possessed. That's enough. Vincent snapped. His calm finally breaking. You've got what you wanted. Now we're leaving. By all means, Bailey gestured magnanimously toward Vincent's car. Until our next encounter, as Vincent and Laurel turned to go, Bailey added, Oh, and Vincent, that USB drive? I'll know if you've made copies. I'll know if you share the information. And when I find out, not if, when, I'll make you wish you'd taken the money. Vincent paused, looking back at the man who had destroyed his marriage and threatened his family. No, Bailey. You wish you had never met me. With that, Vincent guided Laurel to his car, opened the passenger door, and helped her in before walking around to the driver's side. As they pulled away from the construction site, Vincent glanced at his rear-view mirror to see Bailey watching them leave. His expression unreadable in the pre-dawn light. Vincent, Laurel began once they were on the main road. I need to explain, not yet. Vincent interrupted, turning off the wire taped to his chest. He tapped his ear where a nearly invisible earpiece allowed him to communicate with Jack. Are we clear? Jack's voice came through. Clear? We got everything. Bailey just incriminated himself 6 ways from Sunday. Team's moving in now. What about at the Vermont Lodge? Vincent asked, simultaneous raid and progress. Jack confirmed. Initial reports say they hit the muddle-load, financial records, blackmail files, everything, and Diane Walsh. Target of particular interest, Jack assured him. Her conversation with you yesterday about accidents. That's going to come back to haunt her. Vincent allowed himself a grim smile. How long? Give us 20 minutes to secure Bailey and Walsh. Jack instructed. Then you clear to go home. Vincent ended the call and drove in silence. Aware of Laurel's questioning gaze, but not yet ready to address it. Instead, he focused on the road, on the lightning sky, on the knowledge that Bailey's reign was ending. After exactly 20 minutes, his phone buzzed with a text from Jack, Bailey and Walsh in custody. All clear. Vincent finally pulled over in a quiet residential area and turned to face Laurel. Is Drew safe? She asked immediately. Yes, Vincent assured her. Extra protection of my mother's house just in case. Laurel nodded, relief evident on her face. Then she touched her ankle where the tattoo was hidden. Vincent, about what Bailey said about the tattoo. Did you willingly get his initials permanently marked on your body? Vincent asked directly. Laurel closed her eyes briefly. Yes and no, it was complicated. Bailey has a way of making you feel special. Chosen, but also like you have no choice. She looked at Vincent pleadingly. I know that sounds contradictory. It sounds like manipulation, Vincent corrected. Classic abuser tactics. Maybe Laurel acknowledged, but I still made choices. Terrible choices that hurt you and Drew. I see not blame that all on Bailey. Vincent studied the woman he'd once known so well. Why Laurel? We had problems, yes? But it started innocently enough. She explained, her voice barely above a whisper. Professional mentorship. Bailey has connections in the art world. I could only dream of accessing. Then it became dinners, gallery openings. He made me feel seen in ways I had not in years. Because I was too busy with work, Vincent supplied the familiar guilt resurfacing. Partly, Laurel admitted. But that's no excuse. By the time I realized who Bailey really was, how he uses people to scar them, I was in too deep. He had photos, recordings. Threatened to send them to the school board to Drew. Vincent's jaw tightened. When did the threat start? About a month ago when I tried to end it. Laurel said that's when he started pushing to come to the house. To mark his territory? And the journal entries? The ones describing how exciting he was, how I never noticed you. Laurel looked away. He asked me to write those. Said he enjoyed reading them. I think he was already planning to show them to you eventually. To hurt you. Vincent absorbed this information silently. Parts rang true. Bailey's manipulative nature, his desire to control and possess. Other parts seemed like convenient revisions of history. Where do we go from here? Laurel asked when the silence stretched too long. Bailey will face charges, Vincent said. Serious ones. His entire operation is being dismantled as we speak. And us, Laurel pressed, our family. Vincent looked at her directly. There's no us anymore, Laurel. Whether you were a willing participant or a victim of manipulation does not change what happened. Tears filled her eyes. I know, I need to make a man, especially with Drew. That's between you and him, Vincent said. I would not stand in the way of your relationship with our son, but I would not facilitate it either. He need to make his own choices about forgiving you. Laurel nodded, wiping away tears. And what about you, Vincent? Can you ever forgive me? Vincent started the car again, his eyes on the road ahead. I do not know. Right now, I'm focused on rebuilding what Bailey tried to destroy. My relationship with Drew, my firm's reputation, my sense of security. Forgiveness might come later, or it might not, as they drove toward an uncertain future. Vincent felt something he had not experienced since finding Drew at the police station, a sense of control returning. Bailey's power was broken. The truth, however painful, was emerging. And whatever came next, Vincent would face it on his own terms, not Bailey's. Dawn was breaking fully now. A new day, the beginning of the end of Theodore Bailey's reign of corruption. And for Vincent and Drew Blackwood, perhaps the start of healing. Chapter 7 Aftermath. 3 weeks after Theodore Bailey's arrest, Vincent sat in a conference room at the FBI field office, reviewing his statement for what felt like the 100th time. Across the table, Special Agent Monica Reeves closed her notebook with a satisfied nod. That should cover everything, Mr. Blackwood. Your testimony is consistent with the evidence we've recovered from Bailey's properties. What happens next? Vincent asked. Grand jury convenes next week, Reeves explained. Given the breadth of evidence, we expect indictments on multiple federal charges: racketeering, blackmail, environmental crimes, crossing state lines, witness intimidation. And what about Diane Walsh? The others in Bailey's organization. Walsh is cooperating in exchange for reduced charges, Reeves said. She's provided names of officials Bailey bribed. Details about the blackmail operation. Several arrests have already been made. Vincent nodded, processing this information. And Laurel? My wife. Reeves' expression soft and slightly. Mrs. Blackwood's situation is complicated. Evidence supports her claim of coercion, at least in the later stages of her relationship with Bailey. The district attorney is still determining whether to pursue charges. I see. Vincent said neutrally. Since the morning of Bailey's arrest, Laurel had moved into a small apartment across town. Their communication had been limited to necessary discussions about Drew and divorce proceedings. Vincent had neither forgiven nor condemned her, choosing instead of focus on rebuilding his relationship with Drew and stabilizing his firm after the chaos of the past month. After signing his statement, Vincent left the FBI building and checked his phone. 3 ms. Calls from Russ, one from Jack, and a text from Drew. Got the acceptance letter from RISD. Full scholarship. Vincent smiled genuinely for the first time that day, immediately calling his son. Congratulations, he said when Drew answered. I knew they'd recognize your talent. Thanks, Dad. Drew said, his voice buoyant with excitement. The exhibition photos really impressed them. Mr. Harrington says it's unprecedented for a high school junior to get early acceptance like this. We should celebrate, Vincent suggested. Dinner in Marconis. Actually, Drew hesitated. I was thinking maybe we could invite Mom. She helped with my portfolio before everything. Vincent paused, considering his response carefully. If that's what you want, of course. Is it weird? Try not have asked. It's not weird, Vincent assured him. She's your mother. And this is your achievement. We can set aside our issues for one night. After ending the call, Vincent sat in his car, contemplating what lay ahead. Dinner with Laurel would be their first social interaction since Bailey's arrest. Drew had begun speaking with her again 2 weeks ago. Brief, cautious conversations that Vincent had encouraged to spike his own complicated feelings. His phone rang, Russ again. Finally, his partner said when Vincent answered, been trying to reach you all morning. FBI interview, Vincent explained. What's up? The city's pulling all permits issued onto the previous building commissioner, Russ reported. Every Bailey project is under review. And here's the kicker. They want us to lead the structural reassessment of the Horizon Tower. Vincent frowned. Bailey's flagship hotel, the one that opened last year. The very same, Russ confirmed, given our expertise and our role in exposing Bailey's corruption. The city considers us the most qualified to identify potential safety issues. That's ironic, Vincent observed. Bailey's pride and joy under our microscope. Poetic justice, Russ agreed. There's more. The Wilbon site, environmental protection agencies taking control. Initial remediation estimate is $7 million. All built to Bailey development. Vincent could not help but smile grimly. Bailey's empire was crumbling brick by brick, just as he promised. His next call was to Jack, who answered with his customary bluntness. Bail hearing for Bailey this afternoon. Jack said without preamble. Prosecution's asking for a man. No bail given the witness intimidation charges and flight risk. Will they get it? Vincent asked. Good chance. Judge Winters is presiding. No friend of Bailey's after learning he was on the blackmail list. Vincent nodded to himself. I'll be there. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when Vincent arrived. Bailey's arrest had become national news, a lurid tale of corruption, blackmail, and environmental crimes that touched influential figures across multiple states. Inside, Vincent found a seat in the back of the courtroom, hoping to observe without drawing attention. Jack slipped and beside him just before proceedings began. Brace yourself, Jack muttered. Bailey's going for the persecuted businessman angle. Sure enough, when Theodore Bailey was brought in, he transformed his appearance. Gone was the expensive tailoring and confidence mark. In their place, a subdued navy suit, slightly too large, and an expression of wounded dignity. His attorney, a silver-haired litigator named Hartwell, approached the bench with an air of reasonable concern. Your Honor, my client is a respected businessman with deep ties to this community. He poses no flight risk and is eager to clear his name of these unfounded accusations. The prosecutor, a sharp-faced woman Vincent had met during FBI interviews, rose immediately. Unfounded, Your Honor. We have documented evidence of Mr. Bailey threatening witnesses, including a minor. We have financial records showing systematic bribery of public officials. In most concerning, we have reason to believe Mr. Bailey maintains offshore accounts and properties that make him an extreme flight risk. Judge Winters, a stern woman in her 60s whose reputation for fairness was legendary, studied Bailey over her reading glasses. Mr. Bailey, these are extremely serious charges. Bailey stood, the perfect picture of wounded dignity. Your Honor, I've built my business in this city for 20 years. I've created thousands of jobs, contributed millions to charitable causes. These charges stand from a personal vendetta by a business rival whose wife chose me over him. Vincent danced, feeling eyes turned toward him, but maintained his composure. Judge Winters was unmoved. Mr. Bailey, I'm not interested in your personal disputes. I'm interested in the evidence, which appears substantial. Evidence that will be contested vigorously at trial. Hartwell interjected. My client is prepared to surrender his passport and accept house arrest with electronic monitoring. The prosecutor countered, Your Honor, Mr. Bailey's house is a $20 million penthouse with private elevator access. His idea of confinement is most people's idea of luxury. More importantly, from that location, he could continue to intimidate witnesses and destroy evidence. Judge Winters considered briefly before rendering her decision. Bail is denied. The defendant shall be remanded to custody pending trial. Bailey's composed facade cracked momentarily, his eyes flashing with rage as officers approached to escort him out. As he passed the gallery, his gaze locked with Vincent's. The hatred there was unmistakable and mutual. Outside the courthouse, Vincent declined to speak with reporters, instead walking purposefully toward his car. Jack fell in a step beside him. That went well, Jack observed. That's just the beginning, Vincent replied. Bailey still has resources, connections. Diminishing by the hour, Jack assured him. FBI's freezing accounts, seizing properties. The blackmail victims are turning on him now that they know they're not alone. Bailey's finished Vince. Vincent was not convinced. People like Bailey do not go down easily. No, Jack agreed, but they do go down. Just be careful. A corner animal is most dangerous at the end. As Vincent drove to pick up Drew for their celebration dinner, he reflected on Jack's warning. Bailey had lost his freedom and his empire was crumbling. But Vincent could not shake the feeling that the man had contingency plans even for this scenario. Drew was waiting outside his grandmother's house. Dressed in uncharacteristically formal attire, pressed slacks and a button-down shirt. You look nice. Vincent observed as Drew climbed into the car. Drew shrugged self-consciously. Grandma insisted. Said it's not every day you get accepted to our ISD. She's right about that. Vincent smiled, proud of his son's achievement despite everything they'd been through. How are you feeling about seeing your mom tonight? Drew looked out the window. Okay, I guess. We've talked a few times. She seems different. Different how? Sadder. More real maybe. Drew struggled to articulate the change. Before she always seemed perfect. Now she just seems human. Vincent nodded, understanding exactly what Drew meant. Laurel's carefully constructed facade had shattered along with their marriage, revealing the flawed, complicated woman beneath. They arrived at Marconis, an upscale Italian restaurant that had been a family favorite for special occasions, to find Laurel already seated at a corner table. She stood as they approached, uncertainty written across her face. Drew, she said, opening her arms hesitantly. Congratulations, sweetheart. Drew allowed the hug, brief but genuine. Thanks, Mom. Vincent nodded, agreeing neither cold nor warm. Laurel, Vincent, she replied softly. Thank you for allowing this. The dinner began awkwardly with careful small talk about Drew's scholarship, the RISD campus, and his photography. Gradually, as wine was poured, sparkling cider for Drew, and food arrived, the tension eased slightly. I saw your exhibition photos online, Laurel told Drew. They extraordinary powerful. Thanks, Drew said, studying his plate. They were therapeutic to create. I'm sorry they needed to be, Laurel said, her voice catching. I'm so sorry for all of it, Drew. Drew looked up, his expression complex. Hurt mingled with lingering love. I know, Mom. As the main course arrived, Vincent's phone buzzed with a text from Russ. Preliminary assessment of Horizon Tower complete. You need to see this ASAP. Vincent frowned at the message. Everything okay? Laurel asked, noticing his expression. Work thing, Vincent said vaguely, not wanting to discuss Bailey during their celebration dinner. Nothing that CA not wait. The conversation shifted to safer topics. Drew's upcoming senior year, his photography plans, college preparations. For brief moments, they almost felt like a family again. before reality would intrude and remind them of all that had been lost. As dessert was served, Laurel cleared her throat. "I have something for you, Drew." She reached into her purse and produced a small box. A congratulations gift. Drew opened it to find a vintage camera lens, a specialized portrait lens he'd been coveting for months. "Mom, this is how did you know?" "You mentioned it at Christmas," Laurel said. "I ordered it then, but well, everything happened before I could give it to you." Drew examined the lens reverently. "That's perfect. Thank you." Vincent watched this exchange with mixed emotions. Laurel had always been thoughtful with gifts, remembering details others missed, that had not changed, even as everything else had. As the evening wound down, Laurel excused herself briefly. While she was gone, Drew looked at Vincent. "This was not as weird as I thought it would be." "No," Vincent agreed. "It was not. Do you think you and Mom will ever?" Drew trailed off, unable to complete the question. Vincent shook his head gently. "Some things ca not be repaired once they re-broken, son. But we can learn to exist in each other's lives in a new way. For your sake." When Laurel returned, Vincent insisted on paying the bill despite her protests. Outside the restaurant, the momentary truce began to dissolve as reality reasserted itself. "I have my car," Laurel said, gesturing down the street. "Drew, would you like me to drive you to your grandmother's?" Drew looked between his parents, clearly torn. "I should probably go with Dad. We have some things to discuss about the RISD housing options." Laurel nodded, disappointment flickering across her face. "Of course, I understand." She hugged Drew again, longer this time. "I'm so proud of you. So very proud." As she turned to leave, Vincent surprised himself by saying, "Laurel, wait. I need to ask you something." He glanced to Drew. "Give us a minute." Drew nodded, moving a few steps away, but watching curiously. "What is it?" Laurel asked. "The tattoo," Vincent said quietly. "Bailey's initials. Are you keeping it?" Laurel's hand moved automatically to her ankle. "No, I have an appointment next week to begin removal. It will take several sessions." Vincent nodded. "Good." "Vincent," Laurel said hesitantly, "I know we can never go back to what we were, but I hope someday you can forgive me." Vincent studied the woman he'd loved for 15 years, searching for the truth in her eyes. "I'm working on it," he said finally. "Not for you. For me." As they parted ways, Vincent felt a strange sense of closure. Not healing. That would take much longer, but perhaps the beginning of acceptance. In the car, Drew asked, "What was that about?" Moving forward, Vincent answered simply, "One step at a time." That night, after Drew was settled at his grandmother's house, Vincent returned his office to review the files Russ had sent about the Horizon Tower. What he found is sternum deeply. The structural assessment revealed Bailey had substituted inferior materials throughout the building's core supports. Changes made after Vincent's firm had completed the design phase. Computer models predicted potential catastrophic failure within 5 to 7 years without major remediation. Vincent called Russ immediately. "How many other Bailey buildings have the same issues?" "We rechecking all of them," Russ reported grimly. "Preliminary findings suggest it's systematic. Cutting corners on structural integrity to maximize profits. People could die," Vincent said, the implications hitting him fully. "Exactly. We've already notified the city. They preparing emergency evacuation orders for the Horizon." Vincent leaned back in his chair, the weight of the discovery settling on his shoulders. Bailey had not just betrayed Vincent's family. He betrayed public trust in the most dangerous way possible, endangering countless lives for profit. This was not just a personal vendetta anymore. This was about preventing a disaster. The next morning, Vincent appeared at a hastily arranged press conference alongside city officials. As the structural engineer who had designed the original plans for the Horizon Tower, his assessment carried significant weight. The modifications made during construction have compromised the building's integrity. Vincent explained to the assembled reporters. "Our models indicate potential failure points in the central support columns. Is the building in immediate danger of collapse?" A reporter called out. "No," Vincent clarified, "but the risk increases over time. especially during seismic events or extreme weather. The city's evacuation order is an appropriate precaution, while remediation plans are developed. Another reporter raised her hand. Mr. Blackwood, given your personal history with Theodore Bailey, can you assure the public that your assessment is entirely objective? Vincent had anticipated this question. Our findings have been independently verified by 2 other engineering firms. This is not about Theodore Bailey or me. This is about public safety, as cameras flashed and questions continued. Vincent maintained his professional demeanor. Privately, however, he felt a cold satisfaction. Bailey's crimes were no longer hidden in shadows or buried in compromised soil. They were exposed in the full light of day. Concrete evidence of his willingness to gamble with human lives. Later that day, Vincent received a call from Jack. Bailey's attorney is scrambling, the detective reported. With the Horizon Tower evacuation making headlines, his persecuted businessman defense is falling apart. They re-talking plea deal. What kind of deal? Vincent asked, still negotiating, but substantial prison time is on the table. Bailey's trying to protect what's left of his assets. Vincent considered this. Do you think I'll take it? Hard to say. Jack admitted. Bailey's ego is massive, but his self-preservation instinct is stronger. A smart man would take the deal. After hanging up, Vincent received a text from an unknown number. This isn't over, Blackwood. Your victory is temporary. Vincent stared at the message, knowing instinctively it came from Bailey, likely through an associate with access to a phone. He forwarded it to Jack with a brief note. Thought you should see this. Jack's response came quickly. Added to evidence file. Do not engage. Vincent had no intention of engaging directly. Bailey was behind bars. His empire crumbling. His reputation destroyed. The legal system would handle the rest. Or so he thought. Until Drew called the next morning, his voice tight with alarm. Dad. They're reporters outside Grandma's house. They saying Mom was involved in Bailey's escort service. I'm on my way. Vincent said immediately. Do not talk to anyone. Do not open the door. As Vincent drove to his mother's house, he called Jack. Someone leaked details about Laurel's connection to Bailey's operation. Drew just called. Reporters are swarming my mother's place. Jack swore under his breath. Has to be Bailey. He's using his remaining connections to hit back at you through your family. Can you do anything? I'll send a patrol car to keep the reporters at bay. Jack promised. But the information is out there now. Not put that genie back in the bottle. When Vincent arrived, he had to push through a small crowd of reporters, shouting questions about Laurel's role in Bailey's escort service, about Drew's knowledge of his mother's activities, about Vincent's own involvement in exposing the operation. Inside, he found Drew pale and shaking with anger. Vincent's mother trying unsuccessfully to comfort him. How could they say those things about Mom? Drew demanded. All over the internet. My friends are texting me. Vincent placed his hands on Drew's shoulders. Bailey is trying to hurt us because we helped bring him down. This is his revenge. But is it true? Drew asked, his voice breaking. Was Mom really doing what they saying? Vincent chose his words carefully. Your mother was manipulated and coerced by Bailey. The full truth is complicated and not something that should be tried in the court of public opinion. I need to talk to her. Drew decided it. Are you sure that's wise right now? Vincent's mother interjected. Drew's jaw set in a determined line that reminded Vincent of himself. I need to hear it from her. Vincent nodded. I'll drive you. They found Laurel in her apartment, devastated by the public exposure. She'd been crying. Her normally perfect appearance disheveled. Her phone ringing constantly with calls she refused to answer. Drew, she said when she opened the door, fresh tears springing to her eyes. I'm so sorry you seeing this. Is it true? Drew asked bluntly. Laurel looked at Vincent, then back to her son. Not the way they reporting it. Bailey. He has a way of drawing people in, making them dependent on him. I made terrible choices, but I never willingly participated in what they reclaiming. For the next hour, Laurel explained as delicately as possible how Bailey had gradually entangled in his world, using a combination of flattery, opportunity, and later threats to maintain his control. Drew listened silently, his expressions cycling through disbelief, anger, and finally a fragile understanding. "Why did not you ask for help?" he finally asked. "Why did not you tell Dad?" "Pride," Laurel admitted. "Shame. Fear. By the time I realized how deep I was, it felt impossible to find a way out without destroying everything." Vincent, who had remained largely silent, finally spoke. Bailey specialized in creating no-win situations. That was his power. Drew looked at his father, surprised by what sounded like a defense of Laurel. "You believe her?" "I believe Bailey is a master manipulator who used people for his own gain," Vincent said carefully. "Your mother made choices she regrets. Both things can be true." As they prepared to leave, Laurel touched Vincent's arm. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for bringing Drew, for not making this worse." Vincent nodded. "Bailey's trying to hurt us all. I want to help him succeed." Outside, as they walked to Vincent's car past a smaller group of reporters, Drew suddenly stopped. "I want to make a statement." "Drew, that's not a good idea," Vincent cautioned. "Yes, it is," Drew insisted. "These vultures are feeding on our family's pain. I want them to see the real cost." Before Vincent could stop him, Drew turned to face the cameras. "My name is Drew Blackwood. The woman you re-smearing with headlines in innuendo is my mother. The family you re-treating as entertainment is mine." Theodore Bailey did not just commit financial crimes. He destroyed real lives. Mine included. Drew's voice grew stronger as he continued. "You want a story? Here's your story. A wealthy, powerful man used his position to manipulate and coerce a woman, then tried to destroy her when she helped expose his crimes. That's not gossip. That's abuse of power." The reporters fell silent, cameras capturing every word as Drew concluded. "My mother made mistakes, but Bailey is the criminal here, and my family is paying the price for standing up to him. Think about that the next time you camp outside someone's home, looking for salacious details." As Drew turned away, the reporters erupted with questions, but Vincent quickly guided his son to the car and drove away. "That was impressive," Vincent said when they were safely out of range. "Risky but impressive." Drew stared out the window. "I'm done letting Bailey control the narrative. About Mom, about us, about anything." Vincent felt the surge of pride mixed with concern. Drew was showing remarkable resilience, but the public scrutiny would only intensify after his impromptu speech. That evening, Drew's statement was featured on local news broadcasts and had begun spreading on social media. The framing of the story was shifting, from scandalous expose to a more nuanced exploration of Bailey's methods of control and the courage of those who stood against him. Vincent received a call from Jack late that night. Bailey's furious about the changing narrative. Apparently, he expected his leak to destroy Laurel completely. Bailey never understood Drew, Vincent observed. Never saw him as anything but a pawn. "Well, that pawn just became a knight," Jack said. "Also, Bailey's plea deal just got worse. Prosecutors are using the leak as evidence of continued witness intimidation." Vincent smiled grimly. Bailey's own tactics turning against him. "Exactly," Jack agreed. "By the way, Diane Walsh is singing like a canary. She's provided details about Bailey's offshore accounts. Shell companies, everything. The feds are foreclosing on all his properties, including Nevermont Lodge." After hanging up, Vincent checked his email to find a message from an attorney representing several former residents of a Bailey-developed condominium complex in Chicago. They were pursuing a class action lawsuit related to health issues allegedly caused by toxic building materials and wanted Vincent to serve as an expert witness. Similar requests have been pouring in since the Horizon Tower evacuation. Vincent's reputation as the engineer who exposed Bailey's dangerous practices had spread nationwide. He forwarded the email to Russ with a note. "Another one. We should create a dedicated team for these cases." Russ replied immediately, "Already on it. Hired 2 forensic engineers yesterday. This could become our firm's new specialty, identifying structural fraud." Vincent considered this unexpected development. From the ashes of Bailey's attempt to destroy Blackwood and Associates, a new, more purposeful direction was emerging. It could help hold accountable those who put profit above safety, potentially saving lives in the process. For the first time since discovering Bailey and Laurel in his hot tub, Vincent felt something beyond anger or satisfaction. He felt purpose. The next morning, Vincent drove to the Horizon Tower, now emptied of residents and surrounded by construction barriers. As the lead consultant on the remediation project, he had unlimited access to the building. Inside, he documented each compromised support column, each substandard material, each deviation from the original specifications. The evidence of Bailey's willful endangerment was overwhelming. His phone buzzed with a text from Drew, "My statement going viral." Got calls from 3 news outlets, turning them all down. Some things are not for public consumption. Vincent smiled at his son's wisdom. "Proud of you," he texted back. As Vincent continued his inspection, he received another call from Jack. "Bailey took the deal," the detective reported. 15 years, forfeiture of most assets, cooperation, and ongoing investigations against his associates. "Only 15 years?" Vincent frowned. "For the charges they could prove beyond doubt," Jack explained. "Better a guaranteed 15 than risking an acquittal on a more serious charges. Plus, his cooperation will bring down others in his network." Vincent absorbed this information as he stood in the empty lobby of what had been Bailey's crown jewel. The Horizon Tower, with its sweeping views and luxurious appointments, now revealed as a potential death trap. "It's over then," Vincent said, more to himself than to Jack. "The legal part, yes," Jack agreed. "The rest is up to you." As Vincent ended the call, he looked around at the physical manifestation of Bailey's corruption. The man had built an empire on cutting corners, endangering lives, manipulating people. Now that empire was being dismantled, stone by stone, beam by beam. But the damaged Vincent's family could not be undone so easily. Drew had carried these scars into adulthood. Laurel would forever live with her choices and their consequences. And Vincent himself had been fundamentally changed by the experience, hardened in some ways, more compassionate in others. Bailey had lost everything. His freedom, his wealth, his power, his reputation. But in the process of bringing him down, the Blackwood family had paid a heavy price. As Vincent prepared to leave the tower, his phone rang again. "Laurel. I just heard about Bailey's plea deal," she said. 15 years? "Yes," Vincent confirmed. "It does not seem enough," Laurel said quietly. "Not for what he did to all those people. To us." "No," Vincent agreed. "But it's something." A pause. Drew's statement. "Did you know he was going to do that?" "No, it was entirely his decision. He defended me," Laurel said, her voice thick with emotion. "After everything, he defended me." "He's an exceptional young man," Vincent said. "We did something right there at least." Another pause, longer this time. "Vincent, I know we not go back, but I hope we can eventually find some peace with each other." Vincent looked out at the city skyline, thinking of all they had lost and all that remained. "I think we already have Laurel. It's just not the peace we expected." Chapter 8. Foundations. 6 months after Bailey's plea deal, the landscape had shifted dramatically. Blackwood and Associates had grown from a mid-sized architectural engineering firm to a nationally recognized consultancy specializing in structural integrity analysis and building safety. Their role in exposing Bailey's dangerous practices had made them the go-to experts for similar cases across the country. Vincent sat in his expanded office reviewing applications for 3 new engineering positions. The firm's workload had tripled with requests coming in from regulatory agencies, homeowners associations, and law firms representing clients in construction defect cases. Russ burst in waving a newspaper. "Have you seen this? The Bailey Empire." 1 year later. He tossed the paper on a Vincent's desk. "They recalling you a structural integrity crusader." Vincent skimmed the article, which detailed the aftermath of Bailey's downfall. The dozens of buildings now under remediation, the class action lawsuits, the ongoing investigations into Bailey's associates. "Crusader seems a bit much," Vincent observed dryly. Maybe Rush shrugged, but it's not inaccurate. "We've helped identify dangerous construction in 11 states now." "We've been lucky," Vincent countered. "Right place, right time." "Lucky?" Russ raised an eyebrow. "Bailey tried to destroy you and you turned it into the firm's biggest growth opportunity ever." "That's not luck, Vince. That's something else entirely." Before Vincent could respond, his assistant knocked on the door. "Your son is here, Mr. Blackwood." Drew entered carrying his camera bag and a large portfolio case. At 18, he'd grown another inch since starting his senior year, his face losing the last traces of childhood. The experience with Bailey had matured him beyond his years, giving him a quiet confidence that showed in his bearing. "Hey Dad." "Hi Russ." Russ greeted him warmly. "How's the RSD preparation going?" "Good. Just finished my final portfolio for submission." Drew patted the case. "Thought Dad might want to see it before I send it off." "Absolutely," Vincent said, clearing space on his desk. "Let's see what you've got." Russ excused himself, leaving father and son alone. Drew carefully removed a series of mounted photographs from his portfolio case, arranging them in sequence across Vincent's desk. "It's called structural integrity," Drew explained, "a visual exploration of what holds things together and what happens when those supports fail." Vincent examined the images with growing appreciation. The series began with architectural photographs, close-ups of building supports, bridge trusses, foundation elements, before transitioning to more abstract representations of connection and support: an elderly couple holding hands, a mother cradling an infant, a family gathered around table. The middle section featured images of collapse and failure, not just physical structures but metaphorical ones: an empty wedding ring lying on divorce papers, a foreclosure sign on a family home, the hot tub from their backyard now drained and covered with fallen leaves. But the final images showed rebuilding. Construction workers repairing the Horizon Tower, a family that's moving into a new home, and most powerfully, a photograph of Vincent and Drew standing together on a cliff edge, their backs to the camera facing a sunrise. "Drew, this is extraordinary," Vincent said, genuinely moved. "The narrative arc, the technical execution, it's professional level work." Drew smiled, pleased by his father's reaction. "It's why I've been processing this past year. How things break, but also how they can be rebuilt differently maybe, but sometimes stronger." Vincent looked at his son with pride. "What did you get so wise?" Drew shrugged. "Had a good teacher, not in photography, in resilience." After reviewing the entire portfolio and offering a few technical suggestions, Vincent noticed Drew seemed to have something else on his mind. "What is it?" Vincent prompted. Drew hesitated. "Mom called yesterday. She's been offered a teaching position at RISD." Vincent absorbed this information. "In Providence, where you'll be attending?" "Yeah," Drew confirmed. "She turned it down initially because of, well, everything, but they approached her again." "And how do you feel about that?" Drew considered the question. "Mixed. Part of me thinks it would be weird having her there. Another part thinks maybe it could be good. For both of us." Vincent nodded thoughtfully. In a month since Bailey's arrest, his relationship with Laurel had evolved into something neither of them could have predicted. Not friendship exactly, but a careful, respectful, co-parenting arrangement. Their divorce had been finalized 3 months ago with minimal conflict and mutual acknowledgement of what had been lost. "You know," Vincent said carefully, "your mother made serious mistakes, but she's also made genuine efforts to atone for them. Her testimony was crucial in several of the Bailey-related cases." "I know," Drew agreed. "And I've forgiven her. Mostly, it's just complicated. Family always is," Vincent observed. "What did you tell her about the job? That she should make the decision based on what's best for her career? Not on my presence there. That I'm an adult now and we can figure out appropriate boundaries." Vincent smiled. "Like I said, wise beyond your years." Later that day, Vincent found himself driving past the former Wilburn Hotel site, now transformed into a community park as part of the environmental remediation settlement. Where Bailey had planned to build a toxic monument to greed, children now played on safe, clean ground. Vincent parked and walked through the park, noting the plaque, acknowledging the community activists and whistleblowers who had prevented a potential environmental disaster. His name was listed among others. Not prominently, just one of many who had stood against Bailey's corruption. His phone buzzed with a text from Jack. "Just heard Bailey's being transferred to federal prison in Colorado next week. Thought you should know." Vincent stared at the message, surprised by his own lack of reaction. 6 months ago, news about Bailey would have triggered intense emotions. Now it felt distant, almost irrelevant to his current life. He texted back, "Thanks for letting me know. Hope you and Kate are still on for dinner Saturday." Jack's friendship had been one of the unexpected bright spots in the aftermath of Bailey's downfall. What began as a professional alliance had evolved into a genuine personal connection, with Jack and his new girlfriend becoming regular dinner guests at Vincent's home. As Vincent continued walking through the park, he spotted a familiar figure sitting on a bench near the central fountain. Laurel, she appeared to be sketching, her attention focused on the pad in her lap. Vincent hesitated then approached. Laurel, she looked up startled. Vincent, I did not expect to see you here. Just checking on the remediation progress, he explained, gesturing of the transformed landscape. You? Finding inspiration, she said, turning her sketch pad to show a detailed drawing of the fountain. I'm developing a new course on urban renewal through art. This park is a perfect case study. Vincent sat on the far end of the bench. Drew mentioned our ISD offered you a position. Laurel nodded. I was surprised given everything. Apparently, my work stands on its own merits despite the scandal. You've always been talented, Vincent acknowledged. Are you going to accept? I'm considering it, Laurel said cautiously. Drew said he'd be okay with it, but I worry about complicating his college experience. He's resilient, Vincent noted, and you both deserve fresh starts. Laurel studied him curiously. That's generous of you to say. Vincent shrugged. Bailey took enough from all of us. I'm not interested in letting him take more by clinging to anger. They sat in surprisingly comfortable silence for a moment before Laurel spoke again. I heard about the expansion of your firm. The article called you a crusader. Vincent smiled slightly. Journalists and they hyperbole. It's not hyperbole if it's accurate. Laurel countered. What you've done with Blackwood and Associates, turning personal tragedy into a mission to help others. It's admirable. It was our ISD's idea initially, Vincent admitted. I was just angry enough to go along with it, but you've embraced it, Laurel observed. Made it your purpose. Vincent considered this. I suppose I have. Another silence. Less awkward than the first. Finally, Laurel closed her sketchbook. I should go. I have a faculty meeting at Westridge. As she stood, Vincent asked, have you heard about Bailey's transfer? Jack mentioned it. Laurel confirmed. Colorado's far away. Not far enough, Vincent said, an edge creeping into his voice. Laurel studied him. He still has power over you. Over us? No, Vincent disagreed. Not power. Just presence. Like a ghost we see not quite exercise. Maybe we're not supposed to exercise him completely. Laurel suggested. Maybe remembering what happened keeps us vigilant. Vincent considered this perspective. Perhaps. But I prefer to remember what we've built from the ruins. Not the man who caused the destruction. As Laurel prepared to leave, she hesitated. Vincent, I know I've said this before, but I truly am sorry. For everything. Vincent met her gaze directly. I know. And I believe you. It was not forgiveness exactly. But it was acknowledgement. Of her remorse. Of their shared history. Of the complex reality that had replaced their once simple marriage. After Laurel left, Vincent remained in the park, reflecting on how much had changed in a year. The Bailey case had generated national attention, sparking conversations about building safety regulations, environmental oversight, and a power of determined individuals to stand against corruption. His phone buzzed with an email notification, an invitation to speak at a national conference on structural engineering ethics. The subject line read, Integrity in Construction, Lessons from the Bailey Scandal. Vincent smiled roughly. Bailey had indeed left a legacy, though not the one he'd intended. Instead of empire built on corruption, his name was now synonymous with the consequences of valuing profit over people's safety. That evening, Vincent attended Drew's photography exhibition at Western Academy. The school's gallery was packed with students, parents, and several local arts reporters drawn by Drew's growing reputation as a young photographer of unusual depth and technical skill. Vincent spotted Mr. Harrington, Drew's photography teacher, engaged in animated conversation with a representative from a prestigious arts journal. Nearby, Drew's classmates clustered around him, asking questions about his techniques and inspirations. He's quite the celebrity tonight, a voice observed beside Vincent. He turned to find Jack looking distinctly uncomfortable in a sport coat rather than his usual casual attire. Did not expect to see you here, Vincent said. Professional curiosity, Jack claimed with a wry smile. Plus, the kid's got talent. Thought I should see what all the fuss is about. They moved through the exhibition together, stopping before the final image in Drew's Structural Integrity series. The photograph of Vincent and Drew's facing the sunrise. Powerful composition, Jack noted, hope in the face of uncertainty. Something like that, Vincent agreed. Though I prefer Drew's own interpretation, rebuilding after collapse. Jack studied the image thoughtfully. You know, when this all started with Bailey, I worried about what revenge would do to you. How might change you? And I was right to worry, Jack said frankly. It did change you, but not in the way I feared. Before Vincent could respond, Drew approached grinning. Dad, Jack, what do you think? Impressive work, Jack said, shaking Drew's hand, particularly that series on demolition and reconstruction. Thanks, Drew beamed. Mr. Harrington says I might have a chance to the National Young Photographers Award with that series. Vincent placed a hand on his son's shoulder. Yes, right. These are exceptional, Drew. As Drew was called away by the gallery director, Jack checked his phone, got a run, case development. But Vincent, about what I was saying, I know, Vincent interrupted. Bailey changed me, changed all of us. Yes, Jack agreed. But UV managed to channel the change and is something constructive. Not everyone does. After Jack left, Vincent continued through the exhibition, stopping to chat with other parents and faculty members. Several commented on Drew's remarkable maturity and focus despite the family turmoil of the past year. He found his voice through this experience. Mr. Harrington told Vincent some artists searched their whole lives for authentic perspective. Drew found his through adversity. The observation stayed with Vincent as he drove home that night. Drew had indeed found his voice, a clear, compassionate perspective that acknowledged pain without being defined by it. Perhaps Vincent reflected he had found something similar in his own way. The Bailey scandal had shattered his life's foundations. Yet from those fragments he constructed something new. A career focused on protecting others from similar dangers, a co-parenting relationship with Laurel based on mutual respect rather than recrimination, and most importantly, a deeper, more honest connection with Drew. The next morning, Vincent received a call from an unfamiliar number with a Colorado area code. Warily he answered, Mr. Blackwood, this is Margaret Willis, assistant warden at Florence Federal Correctional Complex. Vincent's grip tightened on the phone. Yes, I'm calling regarding Theodore Bailey, she said. He requested to speak with you before his transfer. Vincent felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. Why would I agree to that? He claims to have information about other compromised buildings that were not discovered during the investigation. Willis explained, information he'll only share with you personally. Vincent's mind raised with possibilities. If Bailey was telling the truth, that could be other dangerous structures threatening innocent lives. If he was lying, it could be a final attempt to manipulate Vincent to reassert some measure of control. I'll need to consider this request, Vincent told the assistant warden, and consult with the FBI agent handling his case. Of course, Willis said, please let us know your decision by Friday. The transfer is scheduled for Monday morning. After hanging up, Vincent immediately called Jack, who reacted with predictable skepticism. Classic Bailey manipulation, Jack said, dangling the possibility of unknown dangers to get what he wants, which is access to you. But if there are other compromised buildings, Vincent began, then Bailey should tell the appropriate authorities, Jack countered. He does not need you for that unless he's telling the truth about only being willing to share the information with me. Jack sighed audibly. Vince asked yourself, what does Bailey gain from seeing you? One last chance to gloat, to threaten, to manipulate? Whatever it is, it's about his needs, not public safety. Vincent knew Jack was probably right. Yet the architect in him, the engineer who had dedicated his career to structural integrity, could not dismiss the possibility that lives might be at risk. I need to think about it, Vincent said finally, just remember who you're dealing with. Jack warned, Bailey lost everything because of you. People with nothing left to lose are unpredictable. That evening, Vincent discussed the situation with Drew over dinner at home. It's a trap, Drew said immediately. Bailey's trying to get in your head one last time before they ship him off to Colorado. Probably, Vincent agreed, but if there's even a small chance he knows about other dangerous buildings. Drew studied his father. You were actually considering going? I have responsibilities as an engineer, Vincent explained. If there are unsafe structures I help design, even unknowingly. Dad, Drew interrupted, UV spent the last year identifying and fixing Bailey as structural frauds. UV done more than anyone could reasonably expect. This is Bailey trying to manipulate you again. Vincent nodded, acknowledging the likelihood that Drew was right. When did you get so insightful about manipulation? When my mother's lover attacked me in our hot tub, Drew said dryly, tends to sharpen one's perception. Vincent smiled despite himself. Drew's ability to find dark humor in their family trauma was one of the ways he coped with the past year. After dinner, Vincent found himself drawn to his study, where a dedicated shelf now held files related to the Bailey projects. Each represented a building where they identified dangerous construction practices, each a potential disaster averted. Could there be others they had not found yet? His phone buzzed with a text from Laurel. Drew told me about Bailey's request, please do not go. Nothing good can come from it. Vincent stared at the message, surprised by how much her opinion still mattered. Still deciding, he texted back. Professional obligation versus common sense. Laurel's response came quickly. Bailey weaponizes people's better instincts against them. That's a specialty. She was right, of course. Bailey had targeted Laurel's artistic ambitions. Vincent's professional integrity even drew his dedication to truth-telling through photography. He found people's core values and twisted them to service purposes. Yet even knowing this, Vincent could not fully dismiss the possibility that Bailey actually had critical information. The engineer in him, the professional who had built his reputation on ensuring structural safety, could not walk away from potential risk to public safety, no matter how suspect the source. By Friday morning, Vincent had made his decision. He called the assistant warden at Florence. "I'll see Bailey," he informed her. "But with conditions, the meeting will be recorded. An FBI agent will be present, and Bailey will provide written details of any structural concerns before I arrive. I'll convey your terms," Willis said. "Give a Mr. Bailey status. I believe they'll be acceptable." Vincent's next call was to Jack, who was predictably displaced. "You replaying into his hands," Jack warned. "But if you determined to do this, I'm coming with you." "I appreciate that," Vincent said sincerely. "I'd feel better having you there." The arrangements were made quickly. Vincent would fly to Colorado Sunday afternoon, meet with Bailey Monday morning before his transfer, and return that same day. Jack would accompany him, along with an FBI agent who had been involved in the Bailey investigation from the beginning. When Vincent informed Drew of his decision, his son's response was measured. "Understand why you feel you have to go. Just remember, Bailey has nothing left except his ability to get under people's skin. Do not give him that satisfaction." "I will not," Vincent promised. Sunday afternoon found Vincent boarding a plane to Denver. His mind focused on the upcoming confrontation. Jack sat beside him, reviewing the FBI's latest briefing on Bailey's behavior during incarceration. "Model prisoner, apparently," Jack reported skeptically. "Cooperative, non-confrontational, participates in all programs. Classic manipulator behavior. Show them what they want to see." "Has he provided any details about these supposedly compromised buildings?" Vincent asked. "Nothing specific," Jack said, "just vague references to critical structural weaknesses in multiple Bailey properties. Could be legitimate, could be complete fabrication." "We'll know tomorrow," Vincent said, settling back for the flight. They landed in Denver late Sunday evening and checked into an airport hotel. Vincent found himself unable to sleep, his mind replaying moment from the past year. Drew's bruised face at the police station, Laurel's confession about Bailey's manipulation, the evacuation of the Horizon Tower, Bailey's cold smile at the bail hearing. By morning, Vincent was exhausted but determined. He dressed carefully in his most professional attire, a dark suit with a subtle pinstripe, crisp white shirt, conservative tie, armor of a sword. The drive to Florence Federal Correctional Complex took just over 2 hours. The facility, a complex of buildings surrounded by razor, wire, and guard towers, projected an aura of impenetrable security. Inside, Vincent and Jack met FBI agent Harris, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Bailey's being prepared for the meeting now, she informed them. Remember, despite his white-collar classification, he's considered dangerous. No physical contact, maintained distance from the barrier at all times. They were led through a series of security checkpoints to a private visitation room divided by transparent barrier. On their side, 3 chairs were arranged facing the barrier. On the other side, a single chair bolted to the floor. Vincent took the center seat, Jack and Agent Harris flanking him like sentinels. They waited in silence, the only sound of distant metallic clangs of prison operations. Finally, a door opened on the other side of the barrier and Theodore Bailey entered, escorted by 2 guards. Bailey had changed dramatically in the 6 months since ascending. Prison life had stripped away the polished veneer that had once defined him. His hair, previously expertly colored and styled, now showed pronounced gray at the temples. His face appeared thinner, the confident smile replaced by a tight-lipped expression of careful neutrality. Only his eyes remained unchanged, calculating, assessing, missing nothing. Bailey sat in the chair, his handcuffs attached to a ring on the table before him. He leaned forward slightly, his gaze fixed on Vincent. "Vincent," he said, his voice as smooth as ever despite his altered appearance. "You came. I was not sure you would. I'm here about the buildings," Vincent replied flatly. "Nothing else." Bailey's lips curved in a slight smile. "Always the professional. That's what I admired about you, you know. Your unwavering commitment to standards." "Mr. Bailey," Agent Harris interrupted. "You claim to have information about structurally compromised buildings. That's the only reason for this meeting. Bailey's eyes flicked briefly to Harris before returning to Vincent. Of course, but surely there's time for a moment of reflection between old acquaintances. We were never acquaintances, Vincent corrected coldly. You were a client who betrayed professional trust, endangered public safety, and assaulted my son. Perspective is everything, is not it? Bailey mused from where I sit. I was a business innovator who took necessary risks to meet market demands. The rest was unfortunate collateral damage. Vincent leaned forward slightly. The buildings, Bailey. You said you had information. Bailey nodded as if pleased by Vincent's directness. I do. 3 properties not included in the initial investigation. All with what you might call creative engineering solutions to reduce costs. Names and locations, Vincent demanded. The Archer residences in Seattle, Bailey began. The support columns on floors 3 through 7 are hollow where they should be solid. The Pinnacle Office Park in Atlanta, foundation issues similar to the Wilbon site, though less severe. And the Bailey Core Apartments in Chicago, substandard materials throughout, particularly in the load-bearing walls. Vincent made notes as Bailey spoke, his engineering mind already calculating potential risks and necessary inspections. These will be investigated immediately. Agent Harris stated, if this information proves accurate, it will be considered in your ongoing cooperation evaluation. Bailey inclined his head slightly in acknowledgement, though his eyes never left Vincent. I trust you will personally oversee the Seattle inspection, Vincent. You were uniquely qualified to identify the specific issues. Why these 3? Vincent asked, ignoring Bailey's attempt of flattery. Why now? Bailey shrugged, the handcuffs clinking softly. Let's call it a parting gesture, before they send me to my new accommodations in a mountain sunshine. Vincent studied Bailey's face, searching for the real motivation behind this seemingly helpful disclosure. There's more to it than that. Perhaps, Bailey admitted. Perhaps I simply wanted to see you one last time, to observe what my intervention in your life has brought. Intervention. Vincent repeated incredulously. That's what you call destroying my family. Bailey leaned back slightly, a calculating look crossing his face. I did not destroy your family, Vincent. I revealed its weaknesses. Like a structural inspection exposes flaws in a building's design. Jack shifted beside Vincent, clearly restraining himself from responding to Bailey's provocations. If you hoping to provoke me, you wasting your time. Vincent said evenly. I've moved beyond anger. Have you? Bailey's eyebrows rose slightly. Then you've accomplished something I never could. Anger has always been my most faithful companion. Even now, for a moment, Vincent glimpsed something beneath Bailey's controlled exterior. A flicker of the rage that had driven him to success and ultimately to ruin. The buildings have been noted. Agent Harris interjected firmly. Is there anything else regarding public safety you wish to disclose? Bailey's focus remained on Vincent. Just one thing. A question, really. He leaned forward again, his voice dropping slightly. Was it worth it, Vincent? The crew said. The public exposure. The dismantling of my empire. Was it worth the cost to your family? Vincent met Bailey's gaze directly. My family was damaged by your actions, not by my response to them. And yes, preventing potential disasters and dozens of buildings was worth whatever personal cost I paid. Bailey studied him for a long moment as if searching for signs of doubt or regret. Finding none, his expression shifted subtly. Interesting. You actually believe that? Because it's true, Vincent stated simply. Truth. Bailey said almost himself. Such a malleable concept. Your son understands that with his photography. Different angles, different lighting. Same subject, entirely different story. Vincent tends to the mention of Drew. My son is not a topic for discussion. On the contrary, Bailey countered smoothly. He's perhaps the most interesting outcome of our interaction. Transformed from an ordinary teenager into an artist of genuine promise. Pain does that, you know. Create depth where there was none before. Vincent felt a surge of anger but controlled it carefully. If you suggesting Drew benefited from your assault, I'm suggesting Bailey interrupted that adversity revealed his true character. This as it revealed yours. And Laurel's, a slight smile played at his lips. Will she take the position at our ISD? Do you think? Following your son to Rhode Island. The question caught Vincent off guard. How do you know about that? Bailey smiled wide and fractionally. I still have resources, Vincent, limited but adequate for maintaining awareness of certain interests. You being transferred to a maximum security facility in hours. Vincent pointed out. Your resources are about to become even more limited. Perhaps Bailey acknowledged. But information has a way of flowing even through the strongest barriers. Rather like water, finding structural weaknesses and concrete foundations. Agent Harris stood. This meeting is concluded. Mr. Bailey has provided the requested information about potentially dangerous buildings. Anything further is unnecessary. Bailey nodded to the agent but kept his eyes on Vincent. One last observation, if I may. You think you V1 Vincent. And perhaps by conventional metrics you have. My assets seized. My reputation destroyed. My freedom taken. But consider this: a year ago you were a moderately successful engineer living a comfortable, unremarkable life. Now you nationally recognized. Your firm is thriving. Your true character revealed through adversity. He leaned forward, lowering his voice further. And destroying me, you found yourself. So I ask again, who really won? Vincent stood, gathering his notes. This was never about winning, Bailey. It was about justice and public safety. Concepts I do not expect you to understand. As Vincent turned to leave, Bailey called after him. When you inspect the Archer residences in Seattle, check the northeast corner column on the 5th floor. That's where it's most visible. When you see it, remember this conversation. Vincent paused briefly, then continued toward the door without looking back. Jack and Agent Harris followed, neither speaking until they were well away from the visitation room. What was that about? Jack asked once they were outside. The Seattle building? I do not know, Vincent admitted. But we'll find out. On a flight home that evening, Vincent reviewed his notes from the meeting, focusing on the 3 properties Bailey had identified. All were major developments with hundreds of residents or workers potentially at risk. You actually going to Seattle, are not you? Jack asked, noticing Vincent's concentration. I have to, Vincent replied. If they a genuine structural issues, they need to be addressed immediately. And if it's just Bailey's final mind game, Vincent shrugged. Then I'll have wasted a trip to Seattle. But if he's telling the truth, even partially, lives could be at stake. Jack studied him thoughtfully. You know, Bailey was right about one thing. This past year has changed you. The Vincent Blackwood I met at MIT would never have flown across the country on the word of a convicted felon. The Vincent Blackwood you met at MIT had not seen what happens when structural integrity is compromised for profit. Vincent countered. Had not understood the real-world consequences. True enough, Jack conceded. Just be careful. Bailey clearly still has an agenda where you concerned. When Vincent arrived home that night, he found Drew waiting up for him. Despite the late hour. How was it? Drew asked immediately. Seeing him, Vincent sat down his briefcase and loosened his tie. Strange. He's diminished somehow. Prison has taken away the trappings that made him intimidating. But the essential Bailey remains. Did he actually know about other buildings? Or was it just a pretext? He identified 3 properties with specific structural issues. Vincent explained. I'll be heading to Seattle tomorrow to inspect the first one. Drew frowned. You actually going? Just on his word. I have to, Vincent said simply. It's what we do now. Identify these dangers before they harm people. Drew nodded slowly. I get it. Just be careful. Bailey would not have told you about these buildings without some angle we're not seeing yet. I know, Vincent assured him. I'll be on guard. 3 days later, Vincent stood in the elevator shaft of the art residences in Seattle, examining exactly what Bailey had described. Hollow support columns where solid ones should be. The deception was masterfully executed. Visible only during the kind of invasive inspection Vincent was conducting. This is criminal. The Seattle building inspector muttered beside him. These would not survive a moderate earthquake. They need to be replaced immediately. Vincent agreed. All residents should be evacuated until remediation is complete. As the inspection team began documenting the violations, Vincent examined the northeast column on the 5th floor that Bailey had specifically mentioned. At first, he saw nothing unusual beyond the same structural fraud present in the other columns. Then, looking more closely, he noticed something etched into the metal cladding. Small but unmistakable. TB plus LB. Theodore Bailey plus Laurel Blackwood. Vincent stared at the etching, understanding dawning. This building had been completed 3 years ago, long before Bailey's relationship with Laurel was supposed to have begun. This was not just a structural revelation. It was Bailey's final twist of a knife. His way of informing Vincent that the affair had been going on much longer than anyone had admitted. Vincent's phone rang. Russ calling for an update on the inspection. It's as bad as Bailey claimed. Vincent reported, his voice carefully neutral despite his inner turmoil. Multiple hollow support columns, substandard materials throughout. We recommending immediate evacuation and comprehensive remediation. Jesus, Russ breathed. He actually told the truth? Partially, Vincent said, staring at the etched initials. There's more to it than public safety concerns. After completing the inspection and coordinating with local authorities on the evacuation process, Vincent flew back to Boston, his mind churning with questions. Had Laurel been involved with Bailey for years rather than months? Had her entire narrative of manipulation and coercion been a convenient fiction? He debated confronting her directly but decided against it. Whatever the truth about the timeline, the essential facts remained unchanged. Laurel had betrayed their marriage. Bailey had assaulted Drew, and both had faced consequences for their actions. What mattered now was moving forward, not reopening old wounds. Bailey's final attempt to provoke renewed conflict would fail. The next morning, Vincent received a call from the assistant warden of Florence. Mr. Blackwood, I thought you should know. Theodore Bailey was involved in an altercation during transfer yesterday. He's in the prison medical facility with serious injuries. What happened? Vincent asked, surprised by the news. Details are still being investigated. Willis said carefully. Apparently another inmate recognized him from news coverage. Wordworks changed. Mr. Bailey's status as a snitch regarding the building's safety issues may have been a factor. After hanging up, Vincent sat at his desk absorbing this development. Bailey had known the risks of providing information about the compromised buildings. In prison culture, cooperation with authorities often carried severe consequences. Yet he'd done it anyway, seemingly to deliver one final revelation of Vincent. The Seattle building was now being evacuated. Similar inspections were underway at the other properties Bailey had identified. Whatever his motivations, Bailey's disclosures would likely save lives. Vincent's phone buzzed with a text from Drew. Just heard about Bailey from Jack. Karma? Perhaps, Vincent replied, or just the inevitable consequence of his choices. 1 week later, Vincent received official confirmation that all 3 buildings Bailey had identified were indeed compromised, just as he had described. Emergency remediation was underway at each location, with Blackwood and Associate consulting on the structural repairs. Vincent had chosen not to tell anyone about the etched initials he'd found in Seattle. Not even Drew. Bailey's final attempt to sow discord would remain Bailey's secret, buried beneath new supports and strengthened foundations. As Vincent reviewed the preliminary remediation plans for the Chicago property, his assistant announced an unexpected visitor. Laurel. She entered his office hesitantly, dressed professionally in a tailored suit. Her hair styled simply. I hope I'm not interrupting. Just reviewing some plans, Vincent said, gesturing to chair. What brings you by? Laurel sat, setting her portfolio case beside her. I want to let you know in person. I've accepted the position at our ISD. Vincent audit. Drew mentioned they'd offered it again. Congratulations. Thank you. Laurel said, studying him carefully. I spoke with Drew extensively before deciding. He seems genuinely comfortable with the arrangement. He's an adult now. Vincent observed, making his own choices. Laurel hesitated, then asked, and you, how do you feel about me being there? Vincent considered the question, pushing aside thoughts of the etched initials and Seattle. Drew's right, he's an adult. Your relationship with him is separate from what happened between us. I appreciate that perspective, Laurel said. More than I can express. She opened her portfolio case and removed a folder. There's something else. The provost at our ISD mentioned they replanning a new visual arts building. They seeking proposals from architectural engineering firms with experience in educational facilities. Vincent accepted the folder, understanding its significance. And you thought of Blackwood and Associates? You designed a Westridge Arts building, Laurel pointed out. It's still considered one of the most innovative educational spaces in Massachusetts. Vincent flipped through the preliminary requirements. I'll have our team review it. No promises, but we'll put together a competitive proposal. That's all I ask, Laurel said, standing to leave. Vincent, I know we can never go back to what we were. But I hope this past year has shown that we can move forward in ways that honor what was good between us while acknowledging what went wrong. Vincent studied the woman who had been his wife for 15 years. The mother of his child, a stranger, and then a cautious ally in the aftermath of Bailey's destruction. I think we're already doing that, he said, finally. After Laurel left, Vincent turned his attention back to the remediation plans, only to be interrupted by a call from Jack. Bailey's out of the medical ward, Jack reported, transferred to Colorado as planned. But in protective custody now. Apparently, his status as a building's safety whistleblower has made him a target. Ironic, Vincent noted, the information actually helping people is what puts him at risk, not his years of corruption and exploitation. Prison has its own moral code, Jack observed wryly. Twisted but consistent in its way. That evening, Vincent shared dinner with Drew, discussing the upcoming transition to RISD and Laurel's new position there. Are you really okay with it being there? Vincent asked directly. Drew considered the question while serving himself another portion of pasta. I think so. We've talked a lot over the past few months. She's different now. More authentic, less perfect, and that's better. It's real, Drew said simply. The perfect mother was always a performance. This version, flawed, regretful, but trying, I can actually relate to her. Vincent smiled at his son's insight. When did you get so wise about human nature? Photography teaches you to see what's actually there, not what you wish was there, Drew replied. Speaking of which, Narration was bagged and pulled out a small wrap package. Early graduation gift for you. Vincent unwrapped it to find a framed photograph. The sunrise image from Drew's exhibition, but with a subtle difference. In this version, Vincent and Drew were not merely silhouettes against the dawn. Their features were softly illuminated, revealing expressions of quiet determination as they faced the new day together. This is Vincent's search for the right words. Thank you. It's us, Drew said simply. After everything, still standing, still facing forward. Vincent placed the photograph carefully on the table, struck by its perfect encapsulation of their journey. From a chaos and betrayal of Bailey's intervention in their lives, they had emerged intact, changed certainly, but not broken. Bailey asked me something during our meeting, Vincent said, studying the photograph. He wanted to know if it was worth it, exposing him, pursuing justice despite the cost to our family. And what did you tell him? Drew asked. That it was. Vincent replied. But I've been thinking about it more since then, and I realized something. It was not just worth it because of the buildings made safe or the people protected. It was worth it because of what we discovered about ourselves in the process. Drew nodded slowly. That was stronger than we knew. Exactly, Vincent agreed. Bailey thought he was destroying us. Instead, he revealed what could not be destroyed. As they continued their dinner, Vincent gazed at the photograph, father and son facing the dawn, illuminated by the first light of a new day. Not perfect, not unmarked by what they endured, but standing together, ready for whatever came next. Bailey had not changed them forever. But not in the way he intended. Where he had sought to create victims, he had instead forward survivors. Where he had tried to instill fear, he had inadvertently planted determination. Where he had hoped to destroy a family, he had only revealed its unbreakable core. Vincent smiled at his son across the table, grateful for this moment of quiet connection. One of many that would follow as they continued rebuilding their lives. One day at a time, stronger at the broken places. Chapter 9, Rising from the Ashes. 1 year later, Vincent stood at the edge of the RISD campus, watching his Drew and his fellow students cross the quad beneath autumn leaves. At 19, Drew had grown into himself. Confident, talented, already making a name in photography circles with his unflinching yet compassionate eye. He's thriving here. Laurel observed, standing a respectful distance from Vincent. She had settled into her role as associate professor, maintaining appropriate boundaries with Drew while rebuilding their relationship on new, more honest foundations. Yes, Vincent agreed. The program suits him perfectly. They had gathered for the groundbreaking ceremony of a new RISD Visual Arts Center. A project Blackwood and Associates had won after an intensely competitive selection process. Vincent's innovative design, emphasizing natural light and flexible creative spaces, had impressed the committee with its understanding of artists' needs. The design is remarkable, Laurel said as they walked toward the ceremony site. They were already calling it a potential landmark building. Let's wait until it's actually built before declaring it a landmark, Vincent said dryly, though he was pleased by the reception his vision had received. The past year had been one of steady growth for both the firm and Vincent personally. Blackwood and Associates had expanded to 3 offices nationwide, becoming the recognized authority on structural integrity and building safety remediation. The Bailey cases, as they were now called in the industry, had established new precedents for accountability and construction. Vincent had found unexpected fulfillment in this new direction, not just designing beautiful buildings, but ensuring that existing structures were safe for their occupants. There was profound satisfaction in identifying potential disasters before they occurred, in holding accountable those who would compromise safety for profit. As they approached the ceremony site, Vincent spotted Drew photographing the event for the school newspaper. The teenager caught his father's eye and waved briefly before returning to his work. professional even at this early stage in his career. Mr. Blackwood, the RISD president, greeted Vincent warmly. We're so excited to begin this project. Your vision for the new building has energized our entire arts faculty. Thank you, Vincent replied. It's been a collaborative effort from the start. As Vincent took his place among the dignitaries for the ceremonial groundbreaking, his phone buzzed with a text. Discreetly, he checked the message. Jack, with news about Bailey. Denied parole, medical condition deteriorating. Request to speak with you again. Advised him not to hold his breath. Vincent slipped the phone back into his pocket. His expression remaining neutral despite the rush of complicated emotions the message triggered. Bailey, once so powerful, so threatening, was now just another aging inmate with failing health. His empire long since dismantled. His name synonymous with corruption and fraud. The groundbreaking ceremony proceeded with speeches, photographs, and the ceremonial turning of soil with gold-painted shovels. Throughout, Vincent found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought him to this moment. From the devastating discovery of Laurel and Bailey in his hot tub to this new chapter of creative rebuilding. Afterwards, as the crowd dispersed, Drew approached his parents. Got some great shots. He reported, showing them preview images on his camera's display screen. Dad, you actually smiled a few of these. Making progress. Vincent chuckled. I smiled. Rarely in photographs. Drew countered. Usually you look like you resolving differential equations in your head. Often am, Vincent admitted, making both Drew and Laurel laugh. They walked together toward the campus cafe. An easy camaraderie between them despite their complicated history. Not family in the traditional sense anymore, but connected by shared experience and mutual respect. How's the documentary project going? Vincent asked as they found a table. Drew's expression brightened. Really well. The focus on families rebuilding after structural disasters resonates with people. I've interviewed 12 families so far whose homes or workplaces were compromised by Bailey's practices. Any common themes emerging? Laurel asked ever the professor. Resilience. Drew said immediately. Everyone talks about how the experience changed their perspective on safety, on what matters. Several said they're grateful the issues were discovered before tragedy struck. Vincent nodded. That's the core of what we're trying to do with the firm now. Prevent tragedies before they happen. As they spoke, Vincent noticed a familiar figure entering the cafe. Unexpectedly in Providence rather than Boston. Jack, Vincent called, surprised. What brings you here? Jack approached their table, nodding greetings to Drew and Laurel. Sorry to interrupt. Vincent, can we talk privately for a moment? Vincent excuses himself, following Jack to a quiet corner. Is this about Bailey? Yes, Jack confirmed. But now what you think? He died this morning. Complications from injuries he sustained during transfer last year, apparently. Vincent absorbed this information, searching for his own reaction. I see. There's more. Jack continued. He left a sealed envelope for you. Prison authorities vetted it. No threats. No dangerous materials. Just a letter and some documents. Jack produced a manila envelope from his jacket. I offered a delivery personally. Thought you might want someone present when you read whatever final message Bailey prepared. Vincent accepted the envelope, feeling its weight. Thank you. I appreciate that. They rejoined Drew and Laurel, who immediately sensed something significant had occurred. What is it? Drew asked directly. Vincent exchanged a glance with Jack, who nodded slightly. Bailey died this morning. Vincent explained. Jack came to tell me in person and to deliver this. He placed the envelope on the table. What's in it? Laurel asked. I'm the envelope rarely. I do not know yet. Vincent admitted. His final communication, apparently. Drew studied his father's face. Are you going to read it? Vincent considered the question. Yes, but not alone. He opened the envelope carefully, removing several sheets of paper. The topmost was a handwritten letter on prison stationery. Vincent, by the time you read this, I will have departed this increasingly uncomfortable mortal coil. The doctor assure me it's just a matter of time. And I find I prefer to control even this final transition. I've had ample time to reflect on our interactions and their consequences. Reflection is one of the few entertainment available in my current accommodations. You might expect remorse or apology in a letter of this nature. I offer neither. What transpired between us was the natural consequence of opposing forces. Your rigid adherence to principles, my flexible approach to achievement. However, I do offer acknowledgement. You proved a more formidable adversary than I anticipated. Where I expected a broken man, I found an implacable force. Where I sought to destroy, you chose to rebuild. It was educational. Then closed documents contained details of my final request. Despite the government's best efforts, certain assets remained beyond their reach. I've directed these resources toward a purpose I believe even you would approve. A foundation dedicated to identifying and remediating dangerous structural issues in low-income housing developments. The irony is not lost on me. The very practices that built my fortune will now be systematically undone using my remaining resources. I've named you as the Foundation's technical director. Should you choose to accept? The legal framework is established. The funding secured beyond reach of creditors or claimants. You are in a no obligation, of course. But I suspect you'll find the opportunity to prevent further harm compelling. It's in your nature. That stubborn integrity I simultaneously admired and resented. As for Laurel and Drew, convey my acknowledgement of their resilience as well. They were collateral damage in a conflict that was always primarily between you and me. A fact I recognized too late to alter my approach. In closing, know that while our methods and morals differed irreconcilably, I developed a peculiar respect for your tenacity. In another reality, we might have been formidable allies rather than adversaries. Consider the Foundation, my final statement, in our lengthy conversation about structural integrity, both architectural and personal. Theodore Bailey. Vincent stared at the letter, then passed it wordlessly to Jack, who read it before handing it to Drew and Laurel. Is this some kind of joke? Drew asked after reading it. Bailey establishing a foundation for building safety? If it is, it's an elaborate one. Jack observed, examining the accompanying documents. These appear to be legitimate legal papers establishing a charitable foundation with significant funding. The ultimate manipulation, Laurel murmured, forcing you to carry on his legacy even if reframed as a torment. Vincent studied the detailed foundation documents, his mind racing with possibilities. The funding was substantial, nearly $12 million held in offshore accounts that had somehow escaped the federal seizures. The mission aligned perfectly with Vincent's current work, addressing one of his primary concerns, though all luxury buildings like the Horizon Tower received immediate attention and remediation funding. Similar issues in affordable housing often went unaddressed due to financial constraints. Were you thinking? Jack asked, watching Vincent closely. I'm thinking, Vincent said slowly, that Bailey found a way to complicate things even from beyond the grave. You see, I not seriously be considering accepting this, Drew protested. After everything he did to us, Vincent looked at his son. What if we could use Bailey's money to help people he harmed? To prevent similar harm in the future? Is not there a certain justice in that? It's what you already doing with the firm. Laurel pointed out this would just provide dedicated funding specifically for communities that can afford private consultants. Drew frowned, but it would tie you to Bailey permanently. His name would be attached to your work. Not necessarily, Jack interjected, scanning the documents. The foundation is called the Structural Integrity Fund. Bailey's name appears only in the founding documents, not in the public-facing elements. Vincent nodded slowly. He knew I would reject anything bearing his name. This way, the good work can proceed without the taint of his reputation. It's still his money, Drew argued. Money he made cutting corners and dandering lives. True, Vincent acknowledged, but is not there something appropriate about those resources now being used to undo that very damage? The four of them debated the question through lunch, weighing ethical considerations against practical benefits. By the time they parted ways, Vincent had reached a tentative decision. He would have his attorneys thoroughly investigate the foundation structure before making any final commitment. 2 weeks later, Vincent sat in his Boston office reviewing the extensive legal analysis of Bailey's foundation. Everything appeared legitimate. The funding clean and untraceable to criminal activities, the structure ironclad, the mission clearly defined and aligned with genuine public benefit. Russ entered without knocking, as was his habit after so many years of partnership. Well, what's the verdict on Bailey's posthumous olive branch? Vincent looked up from the documents. Not an olive branch. More like a challenge. Meaning Bailey knew I'd struggle with this. Vincent explained. Accept his money and appear to forgive his actions, or reject it and allow preventable harm to continue in vulnerable communities. A final no-win scenario, Russ observed. So, which way are you leaning? Vincent stood, moving to the window, overlooking the Boston skyline. A cityscape he'd helped shape through decades of architectural work. I'm thinking about reframing the question. This is not about Bailey anymore. He's gone. This is about what happens next. And what has happened next? Russ asked. We accept the foundation funding but restructure it. Vincent decided. Remove all references to Bailey. Rename it the Drew Blackwood Foundation for Structural Safety. Russ raised his eyebrows. Drew might have mixed feelings about that. He suggested it, Vincent revealed. Said if we were going to take Bailey's money, we should completely erase his influence from it. Make it about the future, not the past. Smart kid, Russ commented. So we redoing this? We redoing this, Vincent confirmed. But we do it our way, transparent, ethical, focused on genuinely helping communities that need it most. That evening, Vincent called a family meeting at his home. Drew, Laurel, and Jack gathered in the living room where so much had changed 2 years earlier. I've made a decision about the foundation, Vincent announced. With input from all of you, I've chosen to accept the funding but completely restructure the organization. He outlined the plan. The renamed foundation would operate as a non-profit arm of Blackwood and Associates, providing free structural assessments and remediation assistance to low-income housing developments nationwide. Drew would serve as the foundation's documentary photographer, creating visual narratives of communities made safer through their work. Bailey's final manipulation becomes a force for good, Jack observed. Now what he expected, I'd wager. No, Vincent agreed. But perhaps what he needed. What do you mean? Laurel asked. Vincent considered his words carefully. In his letter, Bailey talked about opposing forces. His flexible approach versus my rigid principles. I think in the end, he recognized that his approach had failed catastrophically while mine had built something lasting. So the foundation is what? Is admission of defeat? Drew asked skeptically. I think it's his attempt to be part of something better than what he created in life. Vincent suggested. A final acknowledgement that integrity matters. 6 months later, Vincent stood in a community center in a low-income neighborhood of Detroit, explaining to residents how the newly established Drew Blackwood Foundation would help address serious structural issues in their apartment complex. Drew moved through the crowd, capturing photographs of concerned families, dedicated engineers, and the affected buildings. His documentary work had already helped the foundation secure additional funding from major donors impressed by the powerful visual storytelling. Laurel, who had taken a sabbatical from RISD to help establish the foundation's educational outreach program, was demonstrating simple home inspection techniques to a group of interested residents. As Vincent finished his presentation and answered questions from the community, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. From a ruins of Bailey's destructive influence, something genuinely beneficial had emerged. Not just the foundation itself, but the renewed purpose had given the Blackwood family. That evening in their hotel rooms, Vincent reviewed Drew's photographs from the days of events. These are powerful, he commented, studying an image of elderly residents examining structural plans for their building. UV captured both their concern and their hope. That's what this work is about, Drew observed. The balance between acknowledging danger and creating safety, Vincent nodded, recognizing the wisdom in his son's perspective. 2 years ago, I was focused entirely on bringing Bailey down. Now we were using his money to help people he would have exploited. Life takes unexpected turns. Do you ever regret how things unfolded? Drew asked, with Mom, with Bailey, with everything. Vincent considered the question carefully. I regret the pain you experienced. I regret not recognizing the problems of my marriage before Bailey exploited them. But I do not regret standing up to him. Exposing his crimes, protecting others from harm. Drew nodded thoughtfully. Mom said something similar when I asked her. She regrets her choices with Bailey but not where we've all ended up. And where's that exactly? Vincent asked, curious about his son's perspective. Drew gestured to his camera to the images on display. Doing work that matters. Being honest with each other. Building something new from what was broken. Later that night, Vincent stood at his hotel window gazing out at the Detroit skyline. His phone buzzed with a text from Jack, just heard from Florence. Bailey's personal effects released. Nothing further addressed to you. Seems the foundation was his final word. Vincent set down the phone, reflecting on Bailey's strange posthumous transformation from enemy to reluctant benefactor. In death, he had created something that might help atone for the damage he caused in life. Not forgiveness. Vincent would never fully forgive Bailey's assault on Drew or his manipulation of Laurel. But perhaps something equally powerful. The reclamation of Bailey's destructive legacy transformed into a force for construction and safety. As Vincent prepared for bed, he noticed a new email from Russ. Preliminary inspections at another site had revealed dangerous structural compromises in a public housing complex in Atlanta. The foundation's next project was already taking shape. Vincent felt a renewed sense of purpose as he reviewed the initial findings. Bailey had intended to destroy him, to break his family and his firm. Instead, he had inadvertently created the circumstances that led to their transformation, stronger, more purposeful, more authentic. The hot tub where Bailey and Laurel had been discovered was long gone, replaced by a small garden Drew had designed, a space of renewal rather than betrayal. The house itself had been remodeled, opened up, filled with more natural light. Even Vincent's firm had evolved from a traditional architectural practice to an industry-leading advocate for structural integrity and public safety. Everything Bailey had touched had been transformed. Not destroyed, but reborn in stronger, more authentic forms. As Vincent drifted towards sleep, he reflected on the strange journey that had brought them all to this point. Bailey had been right about one thing in his final letter. Opposing forces had indeed shaped their interaction. But what Bailey had never understood was that opposition could strengthen rather than weaken, could reveal truth rather than obscure it. The Foundation would continue Bailey's transformation from agent of destruction to reluctant source of restoration, not because Bailey deserved redemption, but because the community, as affected by his practices, deserved justice and protection. In the end, Vincent thought as sleep claimed him that was the true meaning of structural integrity. Not just the physical strength of buildings, but the moral fortitude to stand against corruption, to protect the vulnerable, to rebuild what had been damaged. Bailey was gone, but the lessons of their conflict remained embodied now in the work of the Foundation, in Drew's powerful photography, in Vincent's renewed purpose, even in Laurel's efforts to educate communities about building safety. From a shattered glass of their former lives, the Blackwoods had crafted something new, a mosaic more honest, more purposeful, and ultimately more beautiful than what had been broken. In that, Vincent realized as he drifted into dreams of stronger foundations and safer communities, was a victory Bailey could never take away, and there you have it.